Ada for telling my brother's GF she can't expect me to treat her kids like I treat mine and that she is not entitled to anything from us. I, 32F, have 2 sons with my husband, a 10 months and a 3 years old. I obviously love my kids but I don't really like other kids, especially kids I don't know well. I am just not the maternal type that will want to interact with other kids or find them cute or whatever. My brother has been dating his girlfriend Natalie, 31F, and she has 2 kids as well, 7M and 5F. When we first met Natalie she seemed excited that I have kids and started planning how our kids will bond and play together. This did not happen and the main reason is the age difference. Again, my kids are 3 years old and 10 months. I don't know how she imagined that her 7 years old will bond so well with a baby or someone 4 years younger than him. Her 5 years old daughter is a different situation. She is very rowdy so my oldest avoids her at all cost when we meet during family functions or whatever. Despite our kids clearly not blending well, I would say we were nice towards Natalie and her kids. Last Christmas for example, the first Christmas since they got together, we gave gifts to her kids when we met at my parents' place for dinner and I thought that was enough. However, Natalie decided to confront me on things I apparently did wrong and hurt her feelings. She mentioned, I do not show a special interest in her kids that will potentially become my niece and nephew in the future. I refuse to have her kids over at my place for playdates without her being present. To be clear, I am okay with hosting her, my brother and her kids for a dinner or something. I refuse to make my son like her daughter. I am cold towards her kids. I explained to her that I can't and will not force my kid to play or be friends with anyone. I also said that I am not comfortable having her kids in my house without her present. I do not know her kids that well, I have no idea how they behave outside of the few family settings that we have all attended and I don't want to be responsible for 2 stranger kids in my house. On the coldness side, I explained to her that I am not cold on purpose but this is how I am as a person. I am not a kids fan, I am not overly maternal and I simply don't feel like being overly excited over kids. She said that this is not true because she saw that I am everything I claim not to be with my kids. Well, yes, because they are my own children. She also claims that everyone has been excluding her children. When I asked her how, she gave the same examples from above and claimed that my parents are more affectionate towards my kids. Yes, again, because they are their grandkids. In the end we were not getting anywhere so I told her, look Natalie. You started dating my brother 1 year ago, my parents and I had a couple of meetings with you and your kids and everyone was nice to all of you. I don't know what your problem is but you need to speak to my brother. No one is excluding your kids but you can't expect us to treat your kids the same as mine. This is never going to happen. My kids are my kids, they don't owe anything to yours and you are not entitled to anything from us. Please solve this issues with my brother. My brother apologized for her and mentioned to me she sound like a mad woman, focused on the absurd differences she sees when it comes to our kids. He agrees our parents are not doing anything wrong and that I am not doing anything wrong. He knows me and he is aware I am not doing anything on purpose. He said that Natalie has been crying after our discussion and while he agrees with me he asked me if I can try being more empathetic towards her feelings. I told him that I am polite to her but she seems manipulative and if she doesn't want to hear the truth, she should not start this kind of discussions with me. My brother is lost, he does not know how to manage this madness and I am honestly confused if I did anything wrong when speaking to her. Stories number 2. Aita for giving crappy Christmas gifts and ruining my marriage. I, 31F, married my soon-to-be ex-husband, M33, in 2018. My in-laws never liked me and made it clear. STBX insisted that they're just putting up a tough exterior and they'll grow to love me. To show how evil they are, one time I joined them for dinner and brought a cake I'd made, because I was always raised to be a gracious guest. When I stepped into the kitchen and offered the cake to his mother as a thank you for inviting me, she took the plate over to the garbage bin, dumped it in, and handed me the plate back. When I told my husband what she did, he confronted her and all of a sudden the crocodile tears started and she claimed she grabbed the plate but didn't get a good grip. I let go too quickly, and it fell to the floor, so of course it had to be thrown away. My SAL confirmed that was what happened. My STBX owned his own business and they called me a gold digger behind his back. Of course they insisted on a prenup, which I didn't care about because I never thought my marriage would end and it would appease them and may allow them to finally treat me kindly. Nope. His business failed once COVID hit. We went through his savings and my own trying to keep it afloat. I refused to go into debt to keep it going, so he closed it down. In 2022, he was suffering from really bad depression because he lost his business and couldn't find new work. He suggested we move to his hometown, closer to his family, so he had a larger support network. Against my best judgment we did. He wanted to only work part-time while he tried to restart his business, so I became the main breadwinner. And as with most wives, I became the person in charge of buying gifts. Stupid old me thought buying them thoughtful, expensive gifts would finally make them see I wanted to be accepted by them. Gifts to us were a couple's gift, but clearly for my STBX only. Every holiday was spent with them. Monthly dinners with the whole family. After a year, I realized that if I ever tried to talk or join a conversation, everyone would go quiet, so I just stopped talking when I visited. In early December they finalized plans for Christmas. A few days later my STBX said his family decided they didn't want me to join them for Christmas Eve dinner and Christmas lunch because I ruined the family vibe. I replied, fine, we'll do our own thing instead. My STBX sheepishly looked away and said he was still going to go. I was livid and so disappointed in him. That was the moment I knew my marriage was over, so I returned the presents I had bought for his family. In their place, I got one pair of novelty business socks for FIL, a supermarket brand bottle of shampoo for MIL, the nastiest perfume I could find at the dollar store for SIL. The most expensive gift was a large rawhide bone for BIL and his wife's chihuahua, too big for it to get its jaw around, rendering it useless. I saved about $600 to put on a deposit for a new apartment. My husband come home from Christmas lunch telling me I humiliated him and embarrassed him in front of his family. I asked him why would he think I buy nice gifts for people who clearly don't like me and don't want me around. Served divorce papers last week. Remember how he was supposed to be a millionaire by now, so we had that prenup? STBX is not eligible for any of my savings, it was required to keep separate accounts, or alimony. He doesn't have money for rent and auto insurance. Not my problem anymore. Some of my friends and family and on my side and proud that I went out in a blaze of glory. Others are telling me I was being way too petty, which isn't really like me. So, Aita, some of comments. Commenter, I would say be glad you did not have children with him. Be glad you can escape and be free with no strings. P.S. This relationship should be a learning lesson on the love that you want for yourself and the life you want. Not as a loss. Reply, first thing I did after I moved into my new apartment was adopt an older car from the shelter. He was allergic and I couldn't never adopt one since we first started living together. We're just two old hags living our best lives after being rejected. Commenter, you're not old, silly. So glad you're enjoying the company of an older car, is interesting but not as cuddly, who appreciates you and will show that far more than STBX ever did. Reply, doh. Just noticed the typo keeping it in because it's actually hilarious. Commenter, NTA. He chose his family over you and still expected you to buy all the presents. This was perfectly planned and well deserved for every one of them, including him. Reply, he only worked 12 hours a week at Walmart till he could do non-existent work restarting his business. I make just over 6 figures and I can't believe I didn't realize years ago I was the family ATM. Commenter, NTA so thoughtful of them to insist on a prenup. I hope you send them a sincere thank you note after the divorce is finalized, LOL. Reply, my lawyer even laughed that the prenup that was set up for him is going to be what we use for me. It required both spouses to maintain separate bank accounts and each spouse could keep 100% of their savings. No spouse eligible for alimony. Update post. First, for those who asked how the deposit on my new apartment was only the $600 I saved on the gifts, it certainly wasn't. I had to dip into savings, but that $600 helped. My STBX didn't bother reaching out to me after I left until he was served the divorce papers and my lawyer made it clear we're exercising the prenup. Then it was loving voicemails and texts, I never picked up, from him and his family for a few days trying to convince me to come back, which eventually turned to threatening and cruel voicemails and texts when it was clear I wasn't budging. My lawyer suggested I don't block them so we have evidence of harassment, if needed. Basically, give them the rope to hang themselves with. But then last night I got call after call from my STBX. Stupidly, I picked it up thinking there was some kind of emergency or something. I barely got, hello, out when he said, the rent is a week late. I told him that's strange because I paid my landlord 6 days ago. He paused and sighed dramatically and replied, no, the rent for here. I reminded him I don't live there and he shouldn't expect rent. Cue his parents both texting me that they're going to sue me to pay the remainder of the lease entirely. I'm not worried about having an eviction on my record, since the apartment is in his parents' names. When we first announced we were moving to his hometown, they rented an apartment for us right away so we could move right in. They've been renewing the lease each year. We had to pay his parents and then they write a check to the landlord, who has no idea who STBX and I are, let alone that we live there. Red flag, I know. I'm glad I had a few weeks to prep my leaving since they'd probably use the fact that it's their apartment to kick me out immediately. Divorce is probably going to be a bumpy ride with this man-child and his psycho parents. Any advice from anyone who's been through it is welcome. Sum of comments. Commenter, do you even have a contract at the place your STBX is living? I don't think they have a basis for suing you, lol. What does your lawyer say? Reply, lawyer is confident they have no leg to stand on. I haven't signed any type of lease and utilities are in their name, too, because they were afraid of having too many names connected to the apartment and the landlord finding out. So they are on the hook for everything that doesn't get paid. But, hey, that was their choice and their scheming. FAFO, update post 2. Hi, if this isn't the right place to post any updates, please direct me to a subreddit that better fits. Super sorry if I'm annoying members who aren't interested, but a few requested an update. First post, my husband's family uninvited me from Christmas. Husband still left and made me celebrate Christmas alone. I organized shitty gifts as a final bird flip. First update, I moved out and my underemployed STBX and his family still expected me to pay rent on the apartment in my in-laws' names. So the people who commented that my soon-to-be former in-laws were probably charging my STBX and me more than the amount on the lease, you called it. And we wouldn't have found out if they weren't so entitled and determined to hurt me. They got a cousin who happens to be a lawyer to send me a letter demanding I pay the entirety of the remainder of the lease or they will file suit and force me to pay it. Clearly a scare tactic. So my lawyer sent a formal request to their lawyer for a copy of the lease, which I've never seen, and a copy of their written agreement with us as subleasees, which doesn't exist. They sent the lease and insisted the sublease agreement was a verbal contract. Not only is subleasing explicitly prohibited, but my mother-in-law and father-in-law have been charging us an extra $200 each month. So we've notified the landlord that I've been living there with my STBX and the leases were living in their own house throughout the duration of the lease, and sent copies of my driver's license, with the address, and over 2 years of bank and credit card statements with the address listed. They were served with a 30-day eviction yesterday, which I know about because MIL left a voicemail about me kicking my STBX out of his home and that she now drives with a baseball bat in her car and she'll be keeping an eye out for me, lol. Obviously, my lawyer's expertise is family law and this was out of her purview, so she referred me to a colleague who focuses on real estate law. We met today to devise a battle plan and I am now suing my MIL and FIL for all the money I can prove I transferred for rent for the entirety of the residency there, since the apartment was technically not a legal apartment to rent since they couldn't sublease, no clean hands to rent to us and then sue me. He's not sure how a judge will buy it and it's way beyond my state civil compensation limit, but he's confident that it will scare them and leave them open to settling for just returning the additional $200 from each payment. Which I think is fair, because I did live there with my STBX so I don't think it's right to get all the rent money back. I'm an adult and adults pay rent. And I don't want them to have the satisfaction of saying I'm using the divorce as a windfall. On the STBX front, there's no news there. We will likely need to go to family court for a separation order since he won't agree to the financial details of the separation agreement my lawyer has drafted. My state requires a 1-year separation period before a divorce can be finalized, so this is going to be a long process. A few people asked why he did what he did and if he's offered any kind of explanation or justification. We haven't really talked since he was served. I don't know if he just fell out of love but I was still financially convenient, or if the mask finally lifted, or if it was being so close to his family and them having opportunities to manipulate him. I don't know and I don't care. I don't need closure, I need them all gone. Looking back, making promises during couples counseling and slowly regressing back is enough closure. Knowing he allowed his family to treat me like crap for so long is closure. That final betrayal at Christmas is closure. My focus isn't on figuring it out, it's making sure I'm happy. Sum of comments. Commenter, keep their calls and text messages as evidence for a protective order. Reply, absolutely. She's going to regret it because she works for the school district and a restraining order won't let her teach. Commenter, don't forget to investigate suing for return of money invested in his business. It was premarital asset and exempt from prenup. Worth a shot to see if you can recover some all of that wasted savings. Reply, I had never thought of this. I'll bring it up when I meet with my lawyer next. The lease agreement. When we first told his family we were moving back to his hometown, his parents went ahead and signed a lease for us, to make the move easier. Personally, I think it was to make the move happen sooner and have control over us. They were worried about too many names attached to the apartment, so power, internet, etc. is also in their name. New update post. Summary of previous events that is the clownery of my life. My ex's family treated me like crap for years. In my naivete I told myself to just try harder. They uninvited me to Christmas for always ruining the family vibe. My ex decided to celebrate with family, because his wife isn't family, and left me to celebrate Christmas alone. I decided to return their expensive, thoughtful presents with cheap crappy ones as a final, fuck you, moved out, and filed for divorce. Ex can't afford the rent on the old apartment alone. The apartment is actually leased to his parents and they demanded I pay the remainder of the rent or they'll sue. My lawyer and I sue them. Turns out the sublease was illegal. They charged us, really, me, since my ex was a deadbeat, $200 extra per month that they pocketed. We notify the real landlord. My ex got an eviction notice. So I had our first, and it turns out only, mediation meeting with the in-laws about the excess rent they were charging me and my ex a few weeks ago. The in-laws tried to claim they charged us extra for their role as property managers of the apartment. They couldn't explain in any way what they did as property managers to justify a fee of $200 a month other than chatting with their son about the apartment several times a month, i.e., charging us to talk to their own son. Then it came to the sublease being a verbal contract since we never signed anything and my lawyer asked on which date I verbally agreed. I never did, actually, since my ex handled all of those conversations with his parents prior to our move. They said they couldn't remember, but since I moved in, I obviously agreed to the arrangement they made for my ex. My lawyer told them that it sounds like any verbal contract was with their son and given the terms were oral and unclear, they will be too difficult and costly for them to enforce. He added all of that is a moot point since they didn't have the authority to sublease, anyway, and their case wouldn't get more than the 30 seconds it would take for the judge to dismiss it. He then told them that we'd be pursuing the lawsuit unless they settled on returning $6,200 and will give them time to discuss the deal with their lawyer. I was suing for the return of the excess, not full rent since I lived in the apartment. Within an hour, their lawyer called mine to agree to a settlement of $5,400, since technically the little bit my ex paid for rent should have a proportionate amount applied to some of that excess. We agreed to it. My divorce lawyer also sent them a cease and desist letter about the harassment, warning them that if it continues, I will file for a restraining order and I have plenty of evidence to have it granted. A lot of people asked why I haven't done this already, but I'd rather not go nuclear unless I have to. My MIL's job would very likely be affected if she has an RO and she will just go scorched earth even harder. Thankfully, this seems to have been enough of a wake-up call for her in particular and the texts, emails, and voicemails have stopped entirely. I also learned from mutual friends that my ex was already on dating apps a few weeks after I left, but apparently nothing goes beyond a first date. I guess women don't want to get involved with a 33-year-old unemployed entrepreneur who lives with and lives off his parents and is still chasing some elusive business he hasn't been able to start up. LOL. All communication with him has been through my lawyer except for 2 incidents. A few weeks ago he called me at 3 a.m. completely drunk leaving a voicemail asking to fix things. He called the next day to apologize for that. I guess this will likely be my final update. Now I just have to wait for the divorce to be finalized and done. There is a huge weight off my shoulders. Sum of comments. Commenter, what a great update, congratulations. Reply, thank you. The past 5 months have been like whiplash and it's such a relief to finally feel settled. Commenter, yes. WTG. You deserve every penny back. Glad they're backing off, but you warning them about future harassment and then getting an RO is awesome just in case. Please update me when it's all over. We want to celebrate with you when it's all over. Reply, hopefully the next update is, the divorce is final and my mother-in-law died a painful death. Commenter, awesome. Him and his family are garbage and I'm so happy you got out of that. Reply, I always knew that about his family, but stupidly thought he was some magical exception. I've been trying to be kind to myself when I blame myself for not seeing it sooner and leaving earlier. Commenter, how's your lovely cat? Do you hug it? Reply, she is good, but not happy with me as my vet recommended putting her on a diet. She's been eating my feelings for me. Commenter, if you can, please let us know when the divorce is finalized so we can celebrate for you. Glad the harassment has stopped. And that you at least got some of your money back. Reply, I've lost most of it to lawyer fees, but even if I ended up with $1, I know it would still piss them off. Stories number 3. My parents, F45 M46, are actively undermining my healing from SA. Can I, F20, continue this relationship? I need guidance. I am so confused by the argument I landed in with my parents. We've gotten in arguments and had rough patches for years. I love my parents but they've caused me a lot of pain and it can be difficult to live with them. I even left home for a bit as a teenager and stayed with friends and relatives. I just finished up college a week ago. For context, I had a difficult time getting through the semester. I rarely tell my parents sensitive information anymore. I wish I had a relationship where I felt comfortable to share but I honestly don't. Still, I knew I wasn't going to be able to keep the fact that I was raped from them. I was really thankful when my mom took me to the hospital. I wasn't sure how she was going to react. It's something that's become a shock the more I think about it. It's been really scary to be around other people and I had hoped my parents understood that I needed time to heal, while still pushing myself through school. I feel panicked and guilty that I'm not doing enough often. I feel stretched thin and scared. I know I don't contribute to my parents the way I used to but I thought they could understand why. The other night, I had a headache, I came upstairs and tried to be with the family even though I was exhausted. I was cleaning the kitchen and drying the dishes when my mom seemed irritated with me. She asked me why I was so miserable and told me I was sucking all the energy out of everything. I called her out. I don't do it often because I know it's going to ruin my mental health. I'm embarrassed, but my fight or flight kicked in and I cried in the corner. I admitted to her that I was afraid of her. She told me she believes I need more disorder screening. She told me I wasn't well and I wasn't thinking right. It's really scary to not be able to trust if I'm thinking clearly, but I have no other indicators of needing evaluation other than my parents' opinion. She's also accused me of needing more medication as a result of me calling her out in the past. I honestly don't know what to do. They're annoyed that I'm spending time away from the family, but also annoyed that I'm tired when I push myself to stay. I feel so panicked. I feel like I can't rest in this house and I'm always on edge. They cornered me again yesterday. They told me that they're cutting me off and my mom admitted her support is not unconditional. They expect me to have a job even though I literally just finished. My father lunged at me and my mom had to hold him back. I don't understand what I did to make them so upset. I'm sad that I can't feel safe with them. Comments. Commenter 1. I am so sorry they cannot give you the time you need to heal. Congratulations on finishing college anyway. Maybe you do need more professional help, but they do too. You are better off elsewhere and low contact. Update. I can't believe this is real. I just want to wake up and go back to being vulnerable with my parents, but I'm too scared to even talk to them right now. A few weeks ago I had a blowout argument with my parents where I told them to go to therapy. They revealed to me that they have actually both been going to therapy for months. I stopped arguing the point because I figured it wasn't my place to prod into their mental health journeys further if they purposefully hadn't shared. After that argument my mom had become increasingly more and more hyper-focused on the potential of me having BPD. Every conversation was about how I'm not seeing reality and need to start getting treatment for BPD. A few mornings ago she revealed that the therapy she was referring to wasn't for her. I'm not sure how long this has been happening, but my parents have been engaging with a therapist for months to correct my BPD. I have a team of experts helping me with my mental health. None of them has ever suggested I have BPD. A few years ago, when my parents first started non-stop talking about me having BPD, I asked my psychiatrist if he suggested a diagnosis and he said it was unnecessary. In this house I am treated as though I have BPD. They aren't listening to me. If I criticize them, I'm crazy. I was raped a few months ago and am still feeling shocked and traumatized. I can't heal from rape if I'm constantly on edge and cannot feel safe. I talked to a professional. She seemed to agree with me that they were overstepping. I can't move out, but I don't know how to stop this behavior. Comments. Commenter 1. No legit healthcare worker would ever diagnose you without seeing you. They wouldn't take your mom's word that she believes you have BPD. That doesn't mean your mom didn't lie and tell them you were already diagnosed and just wants help with dealing with it. I think if your own therapist isn't concerned that you have BPD, then you can ignore your mom's nonsense. Just gray rock your mom until you can move out. Reply. Yes, I'm just guessing because this is new info to me too, but I suspect my mom would have inferred that I was diagnosed. Most likely, presented it to the therapist as parents looking to support with the already confirmed diagnosis. Commenter 2. I've seen a lot of parent boards where parents diagnose their children, just like children diagnose their parents with major psychological illnesses. I think your parents are plugging in their interpretation of your symptoms and the behavior, and the boards have spit out BPD. These same people then use the excuse as therapists they've been consulting, when it's not. They're not licensed. They've never been trained. Most of the things they've read are by people who have read the same online articles, recycling the same information over and again, creating a sound chamber without many actual psychologists in the mix. Commenter 3. Psychologist here. There is no way any legit psychologist would diagnose you without talking with you. Your parents may believe you have it, but why? Are they psychologists? Or do they just find dealing with emotions difficult so they slap this label on you? Regardless, they are not safe for you to be around. You are walking on eggshells to hide any emotion you have, and being emotional is a normal human reaction to both graduation and SA. I would worry that they want to have you involuntarily committed and are building a case. Please find somewhere else to stay. Relatives, friends, even a shelter will be safer for you. Low contact or no contact with parents. Take care OP. Reply. I'm going to puke thinking ABT them trying to build a case against me. I am very scared that they will provoke me into having an outburst and then call the police. I am trying to avoid talking to them as much as I can to not create potential for an argument. Commenter 4. Why can't you move out? Reply. I currently don't have the resources. The housing where I am is pretty bad and really expensive. Stories number 4. Aita for not tipping a waitress on a $300 plus tab. The other day, my friend's girlfriend broke up with him, so the boys and I decided to take him to a club to cheer him up. I was the last to arrive, and they had already gotten a table and were all drinking alcohol. When the waitress came up to me and asked what I wanted to drink, I couldn't have alcohol because of the medicine I'm on, so I ordered a Sprite. She gave me an awkward smile and said okay. 10 minutes went by, and I still hadn't received my Sprite. However, she came back and asked my friends at the same table if they wanted another round. They all said yes, and then they ordered shots as well. I reminded her about my Sprite, and she nodded and left. She then brought all the alcohol and shots back out for my friends, but still no Sprite. About 10 to 20 minutes later, she returned and asked how we were doing. Everyone said they were fine, and I said I still hadn't gotten my Sprite yet. She nodded again but didn't even walk back to the bar. Instead, she started talking to another girl. After waiting an additional 10 or so minutes, I decided to go to the bar myself and get a Sprite and a water. I paid the bartender, left a tip, and went back to the table. We hung out for another few hours, my friends drinking a lot of alcohol and eating hors d'oeuvres. When we were ready to leave, she brought our checks and gave me one for the Sprite that she never brought. I told her, "You never gave me the Sprite, I got it from the bar." She responded, "Oh, the bar transferred it to me," and I replied, "No, I paid the bar." She said okay and took the check away. I don't know why I was so upset about the Sprite, it's just a Sprite. But my friends were also upset that I was being treated that way, so they all paid their tabs, left no tip, and wrote on the checks, "You should have brought my friend a Sprite." I think it's messed up not to leave tips, and I would have told them not to do that if they had let me know in advance, because people rely on that money for their livelihoods. But I also don't like being discriminated against because I can't drink alcohol due to my medications. Do you think we were being assholes for not leaving a tip? Stories number 5. My husband, 32M, is convinced I, 26F, am pregnant. I'm not, but he won't believe me. What do I do? I'm truly at a loss here. This situation has gotten worrying, and I don't know what to do with it. Since about a week my husband became convinced I'm pregnant. I have no idea why, because I'm not. We haven't even started trying, though we do have plans in the future. We were just making conversation and yeah, I did mention feeling tired. But that's all. A few hours later he just came in so excited. I told him I'm not, but he won't let it go. He has made remarks about how happy he is, what a wonderful mother I'll be, what our baby will be like. Not all the time, but it has come up multiple times a day. I told him I'm not. I even took a test, because even I started wondering, and it was undoubtedly negative. I showed him and he just got annoyed, said tests can be wrong. He didn't speak to me for the rest of the evening. The next morning he acted as if nothing happened. When I tell him I'm not, he just kind of shuts me out. I lost my shit yesterday when we were in bed and he put his hand on my stomach, told him he's acting crazy. I'm not pregnant and his behavior is scaring me. He went to sleep in the guest room after that and left for work early in the morning. I haven't seen him or spoken to him today. I'm just at a loss. I don't know where this obsession is coming from. I even asked him if I gained weight, if that's what's gotten him confused. He assured me I didn't. I'm thinking of contacting his parents. Or maybe a therapist or something. I honestly don't understand what's happening and I'm worried about my husband. Edit. My husband is one of the kindest people I've ever met. I promise you all that he's not trying to manipulate me, or would do anything to harm me. But that does make me believe something is really wrong. I'll contact my and his parents in the morning, once he's left for work. Maybe go stay with my mom for a bit, though I hate the idea of leaving him like this. I also definitely will make an appointment with my doctor for a blood test. Thank you for all the advice. Relevant comments. To a longer comment. Reply, oof, this reply hit me hard. I appreciate it a lot. I'm very torn. I love my husband very much and am worried about him right now, but I feel increasingly uncomfortable at home as well. Commenter, this is not an urgent enough response to what seems like a pretty serious delusion. This behavior isn't normal or explicable in reasonable terms. Reply, fair, it is very unlike him. I might call my mom, ask her if I can stay with them for a bit. If only to get all of this sorted. I just want him to snap out of it. I miss my husband as I know him. Commenter, would he harm you if he thought you got an abortion? Because that's a possibility. He may accuse you of having an abortion if you get medical confirmation that you're not pregnant after he's decided that you are. Reply, I hadn't even thought of that, sorry. Thanks for your reply. Commenter, the first time I got pregnant my husband knew before I did. He had a feeling. Home test said negative but a blood test showed positive. Reply, oh my, that's wild. Either way I'll meet with my gyno, if only to have some conclusive proof that I'm not. Mini update 1 in comments. Things escalated yesterday but I'm with my mom and his parents are at our place. Update post. I wish I could give clear answers but I can't. Things escalated when I tried to speak to him, keeping some of y'all's advice in mind. I sat him down and explained to him that I'd love to have kids with him in the future but that I'm not pregnant right now, and that his insistence worries and scares me. I told him we could go to the doctor together if that would put his mind at ease, or I could take another test in front of him. I was just hoping to snap him out of it somehow. He got very agitated, said many hurtful things and accused me of being a liar many times. That I'm trying to keep our baby away from him, and so on. Nothing made sense and I wasn't feeling safe anymore. I knew my husband would never harm me in any way, but that wasn't my husband. Things got worse, he did hurt me but nothing permanent or even emergency care worthy. I also know that if he was in his right mind, he never would have done anything like this. I called mine and his parents and I'm now staying with my mom. He did seem to calm down a bit when his parents arrived. I haven't spoken to him since then. His mother, she's an angel, is keeping me posted about everything. We all agree something is very off about him, and we don't know what it is. But he hasn't agreed to getting himself checked out in any way. I don't know how they'll go about it, but they say, and I painfully have to agree, that it's best to keep my distance for a bit, as most of it is aimed at me. I'm safe, so is he. I miss him so much and just want an answer as to why he's being like this. I keep trying to figure out if there were signs before, or what I did wrong. Thank you all for the replies, they were a great help. It's so kind you cared to ask if I'm safe. Relevant comment. Commenter, let's pray it's not drugs, since he refuses to get checked out. I'm so sorry OP, I hope everything gets better soon. I don't know if going back to him is a good idea though, he physically hurt you. Reply, I do think that whatever is causing this, is the reason he hurt. We've been together for some years now and he's never even raised his voice at me up until this. OOP responds to many commenters and thanks them. Thanks. I've been reading all the comments, you guys are all so kind to me. But I'm scared shitless about what it could be, reading everyone's experience. Mini update 2 in comments. He has apparently agreed to get himself checked out, but I haven't heard anything else. Mini update 3 in comments. He's in the hospital. Many people were right about it being a medical issue. I'll get more into it at some point, maybe, but first need to see what's going to happen with him. I've seen him a couple of times. Sometimes he's his normal self, sometimes he can't stand the sight of me. We're managing somehow. Update post 2. I don't know if anyone will see this here, but you've all been so kind to keep asking whether or not we're okay. I hope I'll reach you like this. I'm going to keep this short. My husband has a brain tumor. A lot of people commented this, and I feel an immense amount of guilt that I hadn't considered it till then. All the headaches and other symptoms, in hindsight, we had previously dismissed because of his stressful work situation and so on. I'm beating myself up that I hadn't seen it before. A wonderful team of neurosurgeons, oncologists and other physicians is figuring out the best approach here, if there is one. We'll hear more in the next days. I've spent more time with my husband. Some moments he's his amazing self, others he's filled with anger. It's difficult, but we're managing. I wouldn't have been able to without the support of our friends and family. I love my husband. This situation is terrifying. In moments of clarity he's trying to make me laugh, so I don't worry. That's who he is. Thank you everyone for pushing me to get him checked out. Relevant comments. Clarifies. I'm home now, but my husband's in the hospital. Commenter, in his moments of clarity does he recognize how he's been acting? Or is there always some level of reality distortion? Reply, he seems mostly very confused, if that makes any sense. He has apologized, but his mind is just not working with him right now. Commenter, OP this is not the first time I've seen a thread on Reddit where a brain tumor caused significant behavior changes. I hope the surgeons are able to remove it and your husband's previous personality comes back. Have the doctors given you any info on what to expect after the tumor has been removed? Reply, right now it's the question if it can be removed. There's a lot we don't know right now. The doctor's nurses have been incredibly kind though. Side post. Title, I'm irrationally angry at my husband for having a brain tumor. I can't say these feelings out loud, not to the people around me, so I hope it's okay I do it here. But I'm furious with my husband for getting sick. I know he's not to blame, I know he's suffering. Yet I'm still furious with him. I can't explain it. He's the love of my life. How dare he get sick? How dare he change anything about the wonderful life we have planned? How dare he leave me so much sooner than when we're old and senile? 2 months ago our life was perfect. How could everything get so horrible so fast? I love him so much it hurts. And because of that I'm so angry with him right now. I feel like a horrible person. Update post 3. It's 2 a.m. here, so I apologize if this is not coherent. I'm going to step away from all social media and I wanted to leave you with a brutally honest update. It's silly, but y'all's support has meant a lot to me. Don't get me wrong, I have wonderful family and friends. But in a way I have to comfort them too, and I can't deal with it right now. My husband is dying. In the 5 weeks since his diagnosis, he's gotten worse quickly. Today the decision has been made not to continue treatment, or even properly start it. He's not strong enough. He has a month, maybe. If we're lucky. I'm furious at the world right now. And I'm furious at him. Which makes me an enormous bitch, cause what kind of person is angry at their husband for being ill? I love him so much, and I hate him for it. I'm sorry this isn't a better update. Wish you all the best. Relevant comments. Top commenter, fucking hell I'm so sorry. I remember hoping it was schizophrenia and not a tumor. I'm still kinda hoping this is someone's creative writing venture, but I'm still fucking devastated for you. I know tears from a stranger on the internet aren't really a comfort, but they're still falling for you. I lost my little sister a few years ago. I love her so much, she was my world. I was like a half-parent to her. I was planning my life on having her live with me. And after the very quick progression of an unknown illness she was gone. I still can only imagine what you're going through. I'm so sorry. I hope you're already linked with palliative care, they're some amazing people. Take it literally 1 second at a time, then 1 minute, then an hour, then a day. I was taking it an hour at a time for months after she died, and I still sometimes go day by day. If you can get grief counseling, go ASAP. I did phone sessions, can give you more info if you're in Australia. I mainly use my sessions to just talk about my sister, to tell stories and remember her, to have someone new know her. Sending you love and light. Reply, this comment means a lot to me. Thank you. I'm sorry for what you've been through. Our medical team has been incredible, even dealing with my emotions with a lot of patience. I just wish this wasn't the path we had to take. Commenter, grief has different stages. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression and acceptance. You are in the anger stage. Totally justified after the things you went through before diagnosis. You are angry because you are being robbed of the future together with your husband. Also, you know it's a hard road ahead that you didn't think would happen until you were both old and gray. I don't have advice for you, and I am so sorry you are going through this. Your feelings are normal and valid if that helps a tiny bit. Maybe speaking to a professional may help you also. Update post 4. He passed. I wanted to write a little something here. I don't know if anyone will see it or care. I probably didn't show it properly, but your words did mean something to me. I'm doing okay-ish. Sometimes the grief makes me physically nauseous, but I manage. My friends have been wonderful. For a while I took a step back from his and my family. I do regret that. I guess I had a hard time dealing with their sadness. But we're mostly doing better now. I have a dog now. My friend had to get rid of him because her living situation changed and asked me. Saying yes, initially temporary, was the best thing that happened. It gave me a reason to get out of bed, to focus on something else. Now don't go gifting your grieving friends random pets, but for me it worked out very well. I've also started working again since a few weeks, only part-time, but it's going alright. And I recommend therapy for anyone going through this. I resisted at first. Then agreed and ended up with a therapist who I didn't connect with, I realize now, and stopped again. Eventually tried again, and I'm grateful I did. I feel a lot more comfortable and heard with her. It's hard, I'm not going to lie. I wanted to die, sometimes I still do. But I feel lighter than I did before. It's getting better. I still cry often, and that's okay. As my therapist would say, one step at a time. Thank you for giving me more kindness I expected from strangers. Commenter, yes, we absolutely still care, and I'm so sorry for your loss. I'm so glad that you cut yourself a break for how you were grieving. As many people told you, anger is a normal part of grief and doesn't make you a monster, it just makes you human. I honestly don't know if it's harder to know that someone is going to pass away or if a spontaneous loss is worse. I wish more people understood that you have every right to fire your therapist and that it's okay to audition potentials. We're here for you whether you want to talk about rainbows and unicorns or what you had for dinner or your grief, etc. Our support is unconditional. Sending you so many hugs. Stories number 6. How do I 35F approach my husband 35M after this strange behavior? Me and my husband were sitting at the table with our teen daughter just talking and having a laugh, but she turned to him and she said, "Oh, you have a scar on your neck," and I laughed and went, "Christ, I thought you said mascara on his neck," and laughed again. He said, "How could I? I've barely left the house all day." He went all red and my daughter was like, "What's that about?" And he said, "I don't like being accused of things I haven't done." I said, I haven't accused you of anything. My daughter was looking at me like, what's the hell's wrong with him? It has been so awkward since, even more so because she picked up on how she was behaving, like what the hell was that? I've not really had a reason to not trust him, but his reaction to that comment has sent me spiraling. He got up, asked the younger boy if he wanted to go out and play football, and took off in the car. I have absolutely no idea what has just happened over a stupid comment. Stories number 7. Neighbor tried to sabotage our fence. Now he has no yard access. I live with my mom in a quiet neighborhood. She's the kind of person who waves at everyone and bakes cookies for new neighbors. Harmless, really. A few months ago, a guy who just moved in next door decided our side fence violated property codes. It didn't. It was already there when we bought the house and had been approved by the city years ago. Still, he filed a complaint. The inspector showed up, checked the paperwork, and confirmed the fence was 100% legal. No action needed. Neighbor was annoyed. He wanted it down to expand his yard access. So I looked into his property. Turns out, the gate he installed on the other side of his yard, which he used to access the alley, cut directly through public utility space, and worse, he paved part of it. I sent a detailed complaint to the city, with photos and documentation. No drama, just facts. A month later, the city not only ordered him to remove the gate, but also fined him for unauthorized pavement over public land. He now has to access his backyard through the front of his house, walking all the way around. And our fence? Still standing perfectly legal. Mom even planted flowers along it. Looks great. Stories number 8. I want to share my story of being married to a sociopath. I, 41F, married my ex, 39M, after a year of dating. In the beginning, he seemed like the perfect catch. Charming, hardworking, hilarious, down-to-earth, interesting, very loving, very supportive. I had moved in with him after about 8 months of dating. Soon after, he asked me to marry him. I remember feeling so happy and excited then. I felt like I had finally met the love of my life. But as time went on, he started showing signs that something was off. He was also hiding his alcoholism, which turned into him being full-blown plastered every night. The best part was that I would get home later. I knew as I was driving home, I would be coming home to him drunk and pissed off. In the beginning, he would casually drink. Come to find out, after finding his bottle stash, that he was drinking every night. Hiding bottles in dressers, closets, the garage. He was constantly lying about his drinking. He would get upset about every little thing I did. I constantly felt like I was walking on eggshells. One of my favorite hobbies is coloring with markers. It's very therapeutic and relaxing for me. I remember trying to color next to him on the couch, and we got in an argument about how I wasn't paying enough attention to him. I eventually stopped coloring completely. Because I knew it would just end up in an argument. I stopped doing every single thing that brought me joy. Every single thing. He was slowly but surely manipulating me into being his perfect, submissive shell of a wife. It didn't matter what I did, everything I did was wrong. I couldn't say the right thing, I couldn't do the right thing, nothing I did was ever enough. I work full-time, would get groceries, clean the house, constantly picking up his mess. In the winter, when his work got slower, I would cover all the bills and food. I was constantly broke because of this. I would come home after a long day to him being off work that day and already drunk. I remember getting a lot of, "Hey bud, what's up dude, hey sailor," greetings when I walked through the door. I knew my night was going to be hell. Every night was a living hell. I learned how to be compliant. I basically completely, totally lost myself, and my whole goal was to keep him from snapping. So I stopped saying my opinion about anything. I stopped even talking sometimes because what he had to say was more important than anything I thought or felt. I was constantly agreeing with him. Even though I knew he was wrong. He could say the sky was red, and I would agree. Anything I could do to keep him from going into breaking things, screaming at me, stomping around the house, threatening me or my cats, nightmare, that was my life. I was constantly on edge. I had this feeling like my life was constantly being threatened or my welfare was always in danger. He would hurt my cats. My older cat Billy would be laying in bed, and he'd just kick her off the bed because she was in the way. She's 12 years old and I could tell it hurt her. The worst feeling in the world was not being able to stand up for them because I knew at any moment he could snap. He would chase Pepper around the house, playing, but I knew she was uncomfortable and hated it. She learned, eventually, like I did, you can hide from him and in his drunken idiocy, he won't find you. I learned to find all the good hiding spots in the house so that he would just pass out in bed and leave me alone. It made me sick that I had put my cats in this unsafe environment. It made me sick to see them being abused and feeling so afraid that I couldn't do anything about it. He would gaslight me. At the time, I was being manipulated so bad, I don't think I could tell up from down. I remember there was this constant argument that I would tell a story and he would later figure out that I was lying. In his mind, this story really happened. I went to a drug dealer with my ex. Had sex with the drug dealer in exchange for drugs. And my ex had pulled a gun out on the drug dealer after some disagreement. This of course never happened. And I never told this story, but in his mind I was constantly lying. I would constantly feel like I was losing my mind. Things like, "You said your favorite band was the other day, why are you lying to me?" Sex was always an issue. Either we weren't having enough sex, which it was at worst every other day or few days. Or he was having performance issues that were my fault. There were times when I didn't want to have sex, but I would anyways, because he was so drunk and out of his mind that I feared what would happen if I said no. So I learned to just do what makes him happy. At least then, I wouldn't be hurt physically. I had to stop having sex one night because my blood sugar was dropping and I was feeling lightheaded. Which turned into him screaming at me as I'm sitting in the kitchen waiting for my blood sugar to get back to normal. Wouldn't help me. Didn't care about how I was feeling, he would just scream at me over everything. One time, I had about a week off work for Christmas break. He had to go back to work, while I had 3 more days off. He went to bed and started yelling things like, no, this is bullshit. Why do I have to go to work and you get to sit on your ass all day? Fuck this shit. Proceeded to come up and scream at me for having more time off than him. I ended up going outside and hiding in the neighbor's yard just to get away from him. One night, he drunkenly falls down the stairs. Fell down a tall stairway onto the basement floor and hit his head hard. I was upstairs using the restroom and didn't hear it. He bolts upstairs and starts screaming at me, "Why the fuck aren't you helping me? I just fell down the stairs, you fucking bitch, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you." And I just froze. I learned early on to just stop talking and take the hateful talk. No matter what I did. I just had to agree with him, so he wouldn't hurt me. He was dangerously violent. I started to feel like I was on the verge of being horribly hurt physically or killed. One night he was showing me a karate move and accidentally punched my nose hard. My nose bled. I didn't go to the hospital because I pulled the "I'm fine." There is no doubt in my mind that he did it on purpose. The last time I ever saw him was when I went back to him briefly after moving out. I went to bed at midnight. He wanted to stay up to finish his drink. I had a long work week and was exhausted. I like catching up on sleep on the weekends. So he had come to bed at 3 a.m. trying to get fresh with me. I woke up to him feeling me up basically. I said no and rolled over with my back towards him. He continued to touch me, uncomfortably. I rolled back over to face him and he was staring at me with this look that was absolutely terrifying. It looked like his pupils were dilated. The only way I can describe it was pure evil in his eyes. He was making fists in the air. I said, "Are you awake?" and he then squeezed me way too hard like he was trying to hug me. I knew it was intentional. He would do things often where he would be way too strong-armed with me as a point of, "You're not following my every whim and I'm going to hurt you enough to where it couldn't be viewed as violent." But you can feel when someone is being too strong with you. He was upset because he wasn't getting any and wanted to hurt me as punishment, I believe. I got my stuff and drove home at 3 a.m. He was diagnosed as sociopathic. I do believe he is narcissistic as well. He's also diagnosed with bipolar disorder and autism. I have bipolar, medicated, autism, and major depressive disorder. Trying to navigate how to heal from this has been very hard. I feel lost and lonely at times. Trying to figure out what I need to do to heal all the damage that's been done. It feels daunting sometimes. Even though I've been away for months, I still feel severe PTSD. I can start remembering something that happened, and need to instantly throw up. I know the trauma is still there. I know it will take time to heal. But I feel like I'm losing my mind. Somehow, even with all the horrible stuff he's done, I can still remember the good times and have some sort of nostalgia over his good qualities. But the truth is, he is volatile, manipulative, and incredibly dangerous. I know that now. I guess the feeling I'm dealing with now is that I can never recover mentally from this. I don't want to look at my future, like I'll be unable to find love again or even trust people. I don't want to be around anyone. I go home at night and watch TV with my cats. It's the only place I feel safe anymore. I don't know if I could ever trust a person again to let them in my heart, friend or whatever. I battle with being frustrated with myself for staying so long. And guilt that my cats were in such a horrible environment because of me. I love them more than anything. And it still haunts me, everything that happened. I hope that this post can help someone in an abusive situation get the courage to get out. I was able to get out thanks to my family. I truly believe if I stayed, I would be dead by now at his hands. If you're in an abusive situation, there are a lot of people going through the same things. If you feel any kind of negativity about your partner, spouse, or intuition telling you this person is very bad for you, please listen to it before it's too late. Edit. I moved out in February 25. The last in-person contact I had was early March. We dated 1 year and were married 1 year. Stories number 9. Aita for forcing my father's partner to take back a lie she told my children. I'll preface this by saying I don't have the best relationship with my father, and his partner, Blair, is a big part of the reason why. While I don't hate her, she is extremely obnoxious and childish. She's also horrible with boundaries. It feels like any time someone tells her no, she hears maybe. She's been like this for as long as I've known her, but it's become harder to deal with since I had children, so I try to keep some distance. Anyway, Blair and my father are planning on going to Orlando in July. About a month ago, she asked whether me, my husband and our kids, 7M and 3F, wanted to join them. I thanked her for inviting us, but said no, because we're planning on going next January and there's a pretty big chance I'll have to work in July. Also, and I didn't say this to her, we've been to Orlando with her before and my husband has stated he'd rather eat glass than do it again. A week later, Blair told me they were getting their tickets and asked me whether I was sure we wouldn't join them. I said I was. Days after that, my sister called me. Blair had told her I was thinking about going while inviting her and her boyfriend. I, once again, told Blair we wouldn't go. Finally, Blair asked me if I'd be okay with her and my father taking my kids to Orlando. I said no, because we're not even in the same hemisphere as the US and I wouldn't let my young children travel to a different country without me or my husband. Last week, my sister babysat my kids while my husband and I went out. While we were gone, Blair visited to drop off a gift she and my father had bought for my husband. She also took the opportunity to tell my children we were all going to Orlando in July. My daughter didn't care about it much at first, I think she didn't really register it, but my son got very excited right away. He kept talking about how much he wanted to go to Disney and asking about the trip. And after watching her big brother like that, my daughter jumped on the bandwagon with him. It was both heartbreaking and infuriating to watch them like that. I called Blair and said she had two options, either she told my kids she'd lied and they weren't going to Orlando or I did. I added that if she told them, she'd have the opportunity to apologize and explain herself, but if I did, I would not do that for her. Blair chose to call my children herself. I kept the phone on speaker to make sure she was apologizing, explaining everything, and making it clear we wouldn't go to Orlando in July. Both my children, especially my son, were upset, but my husband and I had a talk with them and managed to cheer them up. My father texted me yesterday. He said that he didn't appreciate the way I dealt with this. Blair is still upset and thinks my kids are mad at her now. He wants me to apologize or at least try to get my kids to forgive her, but I don't see why I should. She was the one who lied to my children, and I'm not responsible for Blair's feelings. We're still on this back and forth, and I can tell neither of us is particularly proud about this. Aita. Relevant comments. NTA. Of course Blair thinks your kids are mad at her, they should be. Blair created this situation by lying to them and now she gets to accept the consequences. You can certainly discuss with your kids what it means to forgive someone who has done something wrong. Everyone needs to give and receive forgiveness at some point. But the ideal result is for your kids to tell Blair that they forgive her for lying to them when they are ready to do so. That will reinforce Blair's responsibility for this situation. My daughter isn't mad. She's upset, but mostly about the situation, rather than anyone specifically. My son is very much upset at Blair. I would seriously consider a NC period until Blair learns that lying has consequences. I've considered going LC with Blair for a while. Not due to lies, this was the first time she lied to my kids, but because dealing with her genuinely feels like dealing with a child. Plus, speaking from experience, NC is complicated. And even if it wasn't, I'm not ready to cut ties with my father. Our relationship is far from perfect, but there is a lot of love between us and I'm willing to keep fighting for that. More on OOP's father and Blair. My father does see the issue, but he's been infantilizing Blair for years. And given that she does act like a child, I don't see this stopping anytime soon. Plus, as much as I generally have no issue with my father's relationship with Blair, a big problem I do have with it is that I feel like I'm the only person who says no to her. Whenever my father does say no, which already doesn't happen often, she ignores him. She's used to doing what she wants without anyone stopping her. Most of the time, I don't care. It doesn't really affect me that much. I do not tolerate this when it comes to matters related to my children, and I've made that very clear in the past. I think that's why I didn't expect her to lie to them. Let your father know that you don't appreciate the way Blair handled not getting her way, and that you handled the situation exactly like you would have if one of your children told a lie. You also need to address how her lie made your children feel. Blair believed you would give in and let them go if she got them all excited, or that you would be the bad guy if you didn't. I explained why we wouldn't go more than once, so I genuinely don't know why she ever expected me to change my mind. Plus, I genuinely can't go to Orlando in July. I will almost definitely be busy for at least half the month, have no desire to deal with the Florida weather when it will be winter in my country, and don't have enough patience to deal with Blair and both my children at multiple theme parks. Financially, we could technically afford to go now, but our trip will be better and more comfortable if we do it in January. Also, my children will be 8 and 4 by then, which feel like better ages for this trip. NTA, I personally would bar Blair from having contact with my children for this lie. The kids have every right to be mad at Blair. Side note, you may want to consider Disney France or Japan. With all the horrible things happening to visitors to the US, it definitely would not be safe to have your kids travel to the US. I can't imagine the trauma if they'd be put in separate detention rooms. We're still doing research on how possible it would be to go to Orlando next year, but we do have an Euro trip, including Disneyland Paris, as a backup plan. It sure sounds like your sister told Blair y'all were gone so Blair could swoop in and lie to your kids. No, I knew Blair would stop by. My husband's birthday was this weekend, and so did my sister. I'd figured Blair would just leave the gift with the doorman. Update. I want to start off by saying my kids are both doing well. My daughter's birthday is coming up, which she's very excited about. My son is also doing better, but he's still a little upset. A few days after my first post, I was tucking him in when he asked me why Blair had been mean to them. There was no way to answer that question that felt fair to my children. She lied to them because she wanted to. She did what she did to manipulate us. I don't know whether she expected me and my husband to put our careers and sanities on hold to join them in July or to let her take our children to fucking Florida without their parents. Either way, it's not happening. We weren't sure how to deal with this. Going low contact felt too much like a maybe, which I already know means yes in Blair, but cutting ties felt like too much. In the end, we decided on a timeout period. She won't have any type of contact with the kids until the holidays. We'll extend that period if necessary. I told both her and my father about this over the weekend. She cried, and my father and I fought again. There wasn't really anything remarkable about what was said at first. It just felt the same as other fights we've had in the past, so I didn't register much. Then he started comparing Blair to my children. One of the things he said was, when kids are excited about something, it's fine, but when Blair is, you have to rein on it. That's what really pissed me off. I told him Blair is not a child. If he wants to treat her like one, that's on them. But he can't expect me to parent a 40-something-year-old woman who can't understand the word no when it's said to her. I did have another conversation with my father the next day, and it was more peaceful. He apologized for most of what he said, but a lot of it sounded like damage control. I told him we needed some space. We're not cutting ties, but we'll probably have less contact for a while. In retrospect, I think I wrote that original post because I couldn't understand where Blair was coming from. Now I realize I don't have to. I've been tolerating Blair's behavior for years, but I can't allow my kids to be affected by it again. I think I explained my family mostly well in the comments last time, but feel free to ask me whatever you want to know. Thank you for your reassurance. Relevant comments. Good job at putting up boundaries and enforcing them. My MIL had about 4 to 5 years of timeout. And my oldest is only 7. Some people never learn. Wouldn't be surprised if we ended up not seeing Blair until after our trip next year. OP, it's the fact that your father compared his partner to children for me. SMH, that says a lot about their relationship, and what you've been putting up with. Just wow. My father infantilizes Blair a lot, which paired with the fact she seems to enjoy acting like a child, makes spending time with her extremely exhausting. I feel like he expects me to extend the love and empathy I have for my children to Blair as well, which I've always refused to do. Is the age gap too big? A little under 20 years, but they've been together for a while. NTA, I mean, who lies to kids like that? And Blair's not a child herself. But hey, at least it's not us dealing with the tantrums this time, am I right? Dealing with kids is easier. Even an entitled child is not as unpleasant as an entitled adult. I said this in a different comment, but going to Orlando with Blair when my son was a toddler was jarring. My 2-year-old was much easier to deal with than her. More on Blair. She still talks about how sad she got when I didn't invite her to my college graduation. I had a max number of invites and a huge family. Not much happened on my wedding, but she did get upset none of her family members were invited. Plus, I hate the idea of Florida in July too. Blair decided to go right now because it's the earliest she can visit Epic Universe. Make sure to keep the details from her, or she'll surprise you at Disney on your trip. Pretty sure she can't afford 2 almost back-to-back trips to Orlando. Is she overall good with the kids? Once they are old enough to survive on their own under her care, it may not be so bad to palm them off on her occasionally. I have obnoxious relatives, too, but if they are good with kids, and the kids like them, I wouldn't object to them taking them on expensive vacations now and then you and hubby could enjoy some time on your own. I'd rather leave my children with a cardboard cutout of Mrs. Doubtfire. Stories number 10. AITJ for expecting full payment when the baby falls asleep while babysitting. 19F, babysit occasionally for a couple in my neighborhood. They're nice and the kid is sweet, it's usually an easy gig. Last weekend they asked if I could watch their 2-year-old from 6 to 10 p.m. while they went to dinner with friends. I agreed on the usual rate and showed up at 6. By 6:20, the baby was already passed out in my arms after a bottle and a quick cuddle. I laid her in her crib and didn't hear a peep the rest of the night. Literally just sat on their couch scrolling my phone for almost 4 hours, checked the baby monitor a few times and that was it. They came home around 9:45 and were surprised the baby had been asleep almost the whole time. Then the husband half-jokingly said, "Dang. Maybe we should just pay you for the 20 minutes of work," and the wife laughed. I laughed too at first thinking it was just a joke, but then they handed me cash for 1 hour and said, "Honestly, we feel weird paying full price when you didn't really do anything." I told them I still came over, they still had their night out, and part of babysitting is just being there in case the baby wakes up. They didn't budge and said they'd make it up to me next time, but I left feeling kind of taken advantage of. I didn't argue further because I didn't want to cause a scene. When I vented to my sister, she said they were being cheap and I was totally right to expect full pay. AITJ for expecting full pay even though the baby was asleep almost the whole time. Stories number 11. How do I 22M get my sister 19F to forgive my GF 25F? Or at least remain cordial. I have been with my GF for 4 months now. We met at the bar and she's legitimately the most gorgeous woman I've ever seen. She's tall, in shape, very pretty, she's just stunning. Everything about the relationship is great, the sex, our friendship, sense of humor aligns. We had differences in our relationship, I'm very progressive and she's very conservative. Which normally I have a hard time getting along with conservatives, but she's taught me to be more open-minded. Now the conflict with my sister arose when my girlfriend was looking at something on Twitter and rolled her eyes. My sister said, "What you are looking at?" and my girlfriend brought up some pro-abortion post. My sister softly defended abortion and my girlfriend is staunchly against it. This is where things get out of hand. My sister opens up about her abortion, saying that it was the hardest decision of her life and told my GF not to be judgmental. My girlfriend basically tells my sister she's a selfish person and irresponsible for getting an abortion. My sister actually cried and asked me to take her home. I drove my sister home and she said my girlfriend is a terrible person, and I let her know I don't agree with what my girlfriend said, but she's not a terrible person, she's a great person who made a mistake. My sister got angry and just stopped talking to me. She will occasionally send me TikToks or videos she finds funny, but declines anytime I ask to hang out or phone calls. Our conversations are non-existent and only consist of sending each other videos. I confronted my girlfriend and told her that what she said went too far. My GF agreed to apologize, but my sister says she wants nothing to do with my girlfriend anymore. Which is fine, but she can at least talk to me. My GF is here to stay whether my sister likes it or not, so I'm trying to get my sister to get along with her or at least go back to normal with me. Editor's note: the comments generally call out OOP's girlfriend for being awful and criticize OOP for choosing his GF over his sister. First update: my girlfriend wants to keep a baby that we can't afford. I'm in disbelief right now. Unfortunately, my girlfriend is pregnant. I found out yesterday. I was stupid and we didn't use a contraceptives. Now, I will be there as a father if she keeps it, which she's adamant that she will not get rid of it. I'm trying to explain to her how this doesn't fit in with the rest of our lives. Now she makes decent money, but I'm getting my damn master's right now. So would I drop out? Get a job? Join the military? It just doesn't make sense for us. She's also afraid of putting the kid in foster home with the state of the foster system. I don't know, man, I feel trapped. I know she won't consider abortion, but are there other resources I can suggest? Notable comment: what did you think was gonna happen when you had unprotected sex with a pro-life woman? Reply: yeah, this was dumb. I haven't told anyone else yet, but I feel stupid, scared, and trapped at the same time. The entire trajectory of my life is in her hands. Second update: I love my girlfriend, she's really hot and the sex is great. Unfortunately, she's a religious nut and I don't agree with the way she wants to raise our child once she is born. I still say abortion is the best option, but it's her choice and she made it clear we keeping it. We are going to move in together and I'm going to go into the military. Luckily she has a good job and her job is flexible as far as not being tied to a specific location. How do I get her to recognize that she doesn't just get to dictate how we raise our child? Third update. My girlfriend is pregnant unfortunately and we have a great relationship, but we are trying to figure out how to navigate our lives together. Now my girlfriend is already established and has 2 properties, one that she rents out. I am still not established, and so with the baby on the way my plan is to go to Army Officer Candidate School, and when I get to my duty station she will move in with me. My recruiter said she could probably join me in BOLC as well. Now I didn't want to go this route, I wanted to finish my master's, but my girlfriend is a religious nut and against abortion. Still, she's weirdly down with premarital sex and moving in together before marriage for the kid. I love her, but dating a religious fundamentalist takes a lot of work. Still I am stepping up and doing my part. I feel that as a sign of we are in this together, she could put one of the properties in my name, but she's completely against that. I feel like I just want to see that she is going to be all in. I want this relationship to work and our child to grow up in a 2-parent household. She's a great partner, but I think she's struggling with understanding that we are a team now. Fourth update. I think a lot of women don't understand guys like being appreciated too. I've been really going through it lately. My girlfriend got pregnant and while I preferred she get an abortion, she is against it. Despite that I have really stepped up and I feel like it's not appreciated. I'm giving up my career goals, dropping out my master's to join the army for us. She already has an established career that allows her to move. All in all she's a great partner, we are still working on the kinks in the next chapter in our relationship, but I know we will overcome. She has to work on being more open-minded because her religious fundamentalism clouds her judgment, like keeping the baby in general, but all in all a good partner and I know we will be good parents. I made a post yesterday about feeling unappreciated though, and a lot of people on a different sub attacked me for just wanting to be appreciated. Sometimes a thank you "I appreciate you" goes a long way. Notable comment. You're getting attacked on another sub because based on your post history you 1. Refused to defend your sister when your religious fundamentalist girlfriend called her a bad person for getting an abortion. 2. Admitted to dating your girlfriend because she is hot and the sex is good despite not agreeing with her religious fundamentalist views that she is very open about having. 3. Did not use protection of any sort while having sex with her. 4. Tried to talk her into an abortion despite knowing she was staunchly religiously against it before you fucked her without a condom. 5. Tried to get her to not just add your name to some of the properties she owns, but actually replace her name with yours in order to prioritize you despite just being her BF that knocked her up. Reply. 5. Is not true. I just wanted her to add me on but decided against it. I might make a new account because I'm not getting any help if people will continue to hold my previous post against me. Fifth update. How do I get my sister and I old relationship back? Just want to get some stuff out the way. I was going to make a new account but people said that was the coward's way and I'm not trying to hide or take away context. The issue has been people haven't been giving me proper advice. I only get good advice and feedback on the military subs. Now, I do want to address things and hope this helps. I take complete accountability for all the mistakes I have made. Anyway, to the main point. If you've seen my previous post you know that my sister was distancing herself from me and my GF. She got into an argument with my girlfriend and I should have stuck up for her more. After that she has just treated me like an acquaintance. I've given her space and our relationship is just memes now. But what gets me is she has forgiven my GF and they talk more than my sister and I. She never answers the phone but will call my girlfriend and it's really starting to hurt my feelings. Top comment. I read your post history. You're a terrible person, terrible, and what your GF said was terrible too, but at least she apologized. You don't deserve to be close to your sister. Leave her alone. Stories number 12. Aita for telling my daughter that her mom cheated on me when my daughter said my new girlfriend looks like an OnlyFans chick. Throwaway account and fake names. I, 49M, got divorced from my wife Emily, 49F, because she cheated on me with multiple men. We have a son and a daughter. Our son Nick, 22M, has always been closer to his mom, and our daughter Skylar, 19F, has always been closer to me. Not knowing why we got divorced, the kids took their mom's side. I recently started dating Lisa, 54F. She has a fun personality, she's smoking hot, and she dresses very fun. When I introduced Lisa to my kids, Nick took a liking to her while Skylar looked annoyed. Days later, Skylar said that Lisa looks like an OnlyFans chick. If you knew Skylar, you would be shocked that she would use that as a way to insult another woman. I told her that her mom Emily was the one who cheated on me, and that I met Lisa after the divorce. Skylar got just said, "Oh," and she got quiet. But the next day, my ex-wife Emily confronted me. I reminded her that I never promised to keep her cheating a secret. She said that I implied that it would be a secret based on the fact that I never said whether or not I would tell our kids. Am I the asshole? Edit. Something of an update since I posted. Even though my daughter is in her bedroom, in my house, I messaged her because she said she doesn't want to see anyone. She sent me a very, very long message she had written beforehand. In the message, my daughter admitted that her mom and her maternal aunt said those kinds of things about Lisa. She said she's embarrassed that she repeated those awful things. She said she thought that I was the one who cheated on her mom. She said she thought I had cheated on her mom with Lisa. She said she's not mad at me. She said she's mad at her mom. She said Lisa seems like a wonderful woman. She said she wants to talk about this face to face but not anytime soon. She said she'll tell me when she's up to talking about it face to face when she thinks she can do it without crying. Stories number 13. My ex and I met in college and were madly in love all 4 years in school. Got married after graduation in 2010. In 2013 I caught her in a year-plus affair with a coworker. I was crushed. She said they loved each other, soulmates, didn't mean to hurt anyone, blah blah blah. We divorced only 3 months later. I was crushed. Worst time in my life. I mourned for over a year. I heard they got married. One day I decided I was tired of being sad, so I completely let go of her in my heart, got off my butt and truly moved on. I'm a programmer by profession and decided to take a pre-sales solutions consultant gig with one of the biggest software companies on the planet. That job has been amazing. I've traveled the entire world. Every continent and all the major cities. Life has been a great adventure. I never did date seriously or remarry. I'm not opposed to casual dating and have dated beautiful women all over the globe. After my experience with marriage I decided that wasn't my path and have been happy. Sometimes lonely, especially during holidays, but overall happy. I had decided enough traveling for a while, so I switched roles and am based in a major city in the US. I'm sitting in a diner on a Saturday morning eating breakfast and reading the news, Facebook, Reddit, etc., and somebody says, "Oh my God." The voice sounded like one of my women friends at work, so I looked up to say hi and my jaw dropped. It's my ex-wife. Here I am 2,000 plus miles away from our old hometown, haven't seen her in almost 6 years and there she is. I was dumbstruck. All I could manage was, "Hi." I hate to say it, but she looked beautiful. She said I looked amazing. She asked if I was busy and that she didn't want to bother me but that she'd love to talk. I said sure. We ended up talking for over 2 hours and continued for another couple of hours when we went for a walk in a close-by park. We were making small talk about mutual acquaintances, my stories of traveling the globe. Everything but the elephant in the room. She finally asks me if I had gotten remarried at any point. I said no, once was enough. She seemed sad by that. We walked in silence for maybe a minute and she said, "I have to say that I'm so sorry for what I did to you. You didn't deserve it. It was incredibly shitty and has haunted me since it happened. You didn't do anything wrong. I said you fell in love with someone else and married them. I couldn't stop you from doing that. I wanted you to be happy." Then I asked, "Are you happy?" She laughed one of those joke laughs, ha. She told me the OM and her fought constantly and he ended up cheating on her and leaving her 2 years into marriage. I said, "I'm sorry that happened to you. I know how bad that can hurt." She said she knew. That when her heart was broken all she could think of was that she had done the same thing to me and that tortured her. She said she fell apart for almost a year, engaged in very self-destructive behavior, and then went to therapy to figure out why she's so screwed up. She said that was extremely helpful and several years ago she finally grew up and holds herself accountable for her own actions now. She had ended up moving to this city because she has an aunt that she loves that lives there, and after her second divorce before age 30 she needed to make big changes in her life. The changes were noticeable. She's definitely more mature. I had to go and get ready for the evening with friends, so we said our goodbyes. We exchanged contact info and agreed to go have coffee and talk more. We have been doing that. We're both single. I guess there's no harm. I can tell she wants more from me. She wants me to want her back. She drops hints as big as the Pacific Ocean. I'm not dumb. I have to admit she still has that certain something that just makes my heart skip a beat. Something I can't describe. Something I hadn't found in anyone else since her. I guess it's chemistry between us. To be honest, I want to be more than friends. I want to hold her and kiss her. She wants that too, but as of yet I've made 0 moves. What holds me back? Fear. I'm afraid of getting hurt again. If she had been a casual girlfriend that dumped me I would have shook it off and moved on quickly. She wasn't though. She was my wife and the love of my life. I used to dream of her somehow coming back into my life. Well, here it is and I'm scared shitless. I don't know if I can give her that much of myself again. I'm way more protective of my heart now. We've both grown a lot and the past seems like 100 years ago. If she wasn't who she is, I'd already be head over heels in love. I struggle with, do I pursue love with her again or do I leave the past in the past? It sounds cliché, but it just had to be her. Of all the people I could have met here, it had to be her. Update. I've gotten so many requests for an update. I have one but was hesitant to post because in this sub I'd take a lot of grief. The update is we got remarried over the Christmas holidays and we're now pregnant. She has grown a lot as a person. So have I. We're not kids anymore. We're in an adult relationship and it's much better than before. Throw in the chemistry we've always had and it's wonderful. I couldn't be happier. I do want to address the accusations that she tracked me down. She didn't. She had moved to our current city before I did. She really had moved on, went to therapy, and had grown a lot as a person. I just happened to be in that diner. We think it had to be fate or some type of intervening force. Neither of us are religious, but the astronomical odds of us running into each other, both single, and in a city neither of us had ever lived in, are hard to ignore. Obviously the universe had a plan for us. I wish all of you good luck. My only advice is don't close your heart. You never know who will stroll into your life. Stories number 14. I 35M and wife 32F. How to tell my wife that her behavior is not okay. Hi, my mother passed away 2 weeks ago. I am still unsure how to handle it, process it, digest it. On outside I am fine, i.e. talk normally, spend time with wife, etc. Yesterday was her birthday. She likes to celebrate her birthdays, typically going out for a couple of days with nice dinner, etc. This time I just booked dinner. On her birthday she was sulky and angry for a few hours. When I asked, she said she was angry that we didn't celebrate at midnight. I was shocked as I did not want this drama, at least at this time. I told her how I am feeling, but she defended her position, saying she likes to celebrate birthdays and can't hide unhappiness. As I didn't do the midnight celebration, she acted sulky and angry. She also said this is how she is. She was also thinking to spend it with friends as she knew I may not feel like celebrating. I feel sad. I want to express to her that how cruel this behavior is. I think she should compromise this year and not burden me with expectations as well as anger, rather she should support me in my grief. I told her that in relationships we should support each other. I am unable to ignore this incident as I feel really sad that she is unable to understand my feelings and further not acknowledging that she should have acted more empathetically. Stories number 15. To fool by texting my boss instead of my girlfriend. So this morning I was in a rush and half asleep when I got a sweet, "Good morning" text from my girlfriend. I wanted to respond with something flirty and cute, so I typed, "Good morning, babe, can't wait to see you later. I've been thinking about you all night." I hit send and threw my phone down, proud of my smoothness. 5 minutes later, I got a reply, from my boss. Turns out I had opened my boss's text from earlier in the day and replied in that thread instead. She responded, "I don't think this message was meant for me." Cue immediate panic. I apologized profusely, trying to explain the mix-up, but I've been dying of secondhand embarrassment all day. Worst part. We had a Zoom meeting that afternoon and she couldn't stop smirking. TLDR, I tried to send a flirty text to my girlfriend but accidentally sent it to my boss. Now I have to live with that forever. Stories number 16. My wife just stopped talking to me. I don't know when it started, but now it's just silence. It's not like we had a big fight. There wasn't even a clear moment. One day we were laughing over dinner, and now she barely says more than a few words to me in a day. No, good morning, no, how was your day? Nothing, just silence. She still does everything around the house. Still takes care of the kids. Still shows up. But emotionally, it's like I'm a ghost. I asked if something was wrong. She said, "I'm just tired." But this tired has lasted months. I don't cheat. I don't lie. I work hard. I try. But I feel like I'm losing her and I don't even know why. Has anyone else experienced this? What did you do? Comments. Commenter 1. Try helping her without her asking or giving you step-by-step instructions. Try making dinner, picking up bath time, giving her a night off. Spend time 1:1 with her, if you can. Just start by showing her you're willing to help lighten the load if she's telling you she's tired. She may start opening up a bit. I do mean this in the nicest possible way, there's no prize for not cheating or lying. This is the bare minimum for marriage. That's like saying you should get a raise just for showing up to work. You wouldn't expect that at work, so why do you expect that from your marriage? Reply, wow, I didn't realize how much I've been waiting to be told what to do instead of just stepping up. Thank you. That hit harder than expected, and I'm taking it seriously. Commenter 2, she still does everything around the house. Still takes care of the kids. Asked if something was wrong. She said, I'm just tired. But this, tired, has lasted months. No kidding. I wonder why. It's time to reevaluate everything, my man, or you will end up alone in your big empty house. Unless of course you want that. Reply, you're absolutely right. Reading it from a stranger makes it hit different. I don't want to end up in that empty house you mentioned. I'm going to take action before it's too late. Thanks for the wake-up call. Commenter 3, likely, she's burned out, and she's seeing you as just another chore or inconvenience. Don't be a child and pull your weight around the house. Do dishes every time you see them in the sink before she asks or does them herself. Take out the trash, sweep, vacuum the floors. Do the laundry if you know how she likes it, and then fold and put it away. Take care of the pet's kids without having to be asked. Just be a fully competent partner, and she will appreciate it. If you're just another chore, she can't talk to you as equals because she's probably irritated with you and doesn't want to fight about it anymore. Reply, damn. I think you nailed it. I never meant to be an extra burden, but I see how it ended up that way. I'm gonna try to be a better partner, not just someone who coexists. Thanks for the honesty. Commenter 4, I had to make sure your username wasn't my husband's BC. I'm pretty sick of his shit and don't have the energy to even talk about it anymore. Do you seriously have no idea what triggered this or where underlying resentment could be coming from? Reply, that stings, but I needed to hear it. No excuse for being clueless anymore. I'm gonna reflect hard and actually talk less about fixing it and just do the work. Thanks for being real with me. OOP comments 2.5 hours later. Wow, I just wrapped up something I was working on and came back to see all these thoughtful comments. I honestly didn't expect so many people to take the time to share their advice and experiences. It really means a lot. Thank you, everyone. I'm reading through each one and taking it all to heart. Update post. Short summary for those scrolling fast, we talked. She was overwhelmed. I finally saw what I was missing. I'm stepping up, and there's hope again. Thank you. I didn't expect this post to get so much attention. Thank you all for your comments, stories, and honesty. I read many of them. And then I did something that felt terrifying at first. I shared the post with my wife. We sat together. In silence, at first. But then, for the first time in what felt like forever, we talked. Really talked. She cried. She told me how heavy everything felt. That even though I wasn't trying to hurt her, it felt like she was carrying the weight of two people all the time. Dishes, laundry, school drop-offs, doctor's appointments, meal planning. The invisible labor that so many people in the comments mentioned, it was real, and she'd been drowning in it, and I just hadn't seen it. Our kids are 8 and 6. They're wonderful, but anyone with little ones knows how draining that phase of life can be. Add to that a partner who's unknowingly been more of a roommate than a teammate, and yeah, the silence made sense. So I started small. I took over some of the chores without being asked. I made dinner last night. I planned a fun weekend activity with the kids, just me and them. So she could have a real break. And next week, we're all going on a little family adventure together. Something light. Something fun. Something healing. It's going to take time. But for the first time in a long time, I feel hope. And I owe so much of that to you all. Thank you truly. Comments. Commenter 1, I am so happy to read this update. I tell you from experience that what you are doing is going to improve your marriage and your children's lives in a way you would never consider, even your intimate life. Bravo to you for being mature enough to not only realize it but to improve it. Reply, thank you so much for this. Hearing from someone with experience means a lot. I really do hope this changes things for the better, not just for my wife and me, but for our kids too. Your words give me strength. Commenter 2, one of the main conclusions that can be drawn from these stories here is that people need to have a lot of honest conversations with each other. Most of the time it isn't a lost cause. Congratulations on this breakthrough, I hope everything works out for you. Reply, you're absolutely right. Honest conversations can be powerful. I never thought one simple post would lead to such an important shift in our relationship. Thank you for the encouragement and for believing it's never a lost cause. Commenter 3, what a wonderful update op. I am so glad for you and your family. Well done to you for taking action and choosing to put in the work to make your marriage work. Most importantly, making her feel seen, heard, and wanting to share the load. Wish you both the best. Reply, that's so kind of you to say. I really appreciate your words. I realized it's not just about helping more, it's about making her feel seen and valued, like you said. Wishing you the best as well, and thank you again. Editor's note, wasn't sure if I should mark this as concluded or ongoing. I went with ongoing because even though OOP found out what was wrong, it's still a process and he may update again. Stories number 17. Aita for wanting my sister to change her wedding date because it falls on my graduation. My sister is getting married next year, May 17, 2025. This is a problem because I graduate that day. I was informed about the date in March. Long story short, I was looking at my academic calendar just a few days ago and I found out that that was my graduation day. My school usually graduates during the first week of May, so this surprised me. I let my parents know about the date and they told me to tell my sister. When I told her about the date, I asked her if could change the date. She told that she already changed the date 3 times and she wasn't going to change it for a 4th. She told me that she was sorry and she'll understand if I can't come. I was kinda upset by this because I thought it was very dismissive. When I told her that, she got mad and told me that I can't expect her to try and change her date again and that it was set and it was final. Now I'm kinda worried that none of my family members would be at my graduation and I won't be able to see my sister get married. I understand that it's an inconvenience for her, but she could change her wedding date. I have no control over my graduation date. When I talked to my parents about who's going to be at my graduation, they just told me not to worry about that right now because it's not time to stress about that. But I am. My parents are telling me that they are gonna try and convince my sister to change the date, but I doubt she will. Comments. I'm not going to her wedding if it's during my graduation. If no one in my family comes to my graduation, I'd like them to tell me now instead of waiting until later. This is her first wedding. I'm 16, she's 25. I would like to be at her wedding, but I'm not missing my graduation. My parents are conflicted. They're not sure what to do and just told me that they are gonna try and convince her to change the date. My sister wanted a spring wedding at first, but she changed her mind and wanted to get married during September, but most of us would be in school by that time and she just decided to change it to May. It keeps getting pushed back. If OOP was at sister's graduation, yes, we all attended. Except her college graduation. It was only a few of us who could go. Me, my mom and dad, and 2 of our cousins. It had limited tickets, but for her high school one, everyone went. It says it's 1 hour and 31 minutes away from my school. On the calendar it says, at 4 p.m., but I know that the graduates have to be there earlier for lineup and I'm not sure what time that'll be. My sister wants her wedding to start at 5:30. Even if my graduation ends before, I'll miss part of it. I want my family at my high school graduation, too. They're both important, and I liked seeing how everyone was proud of my cousins and sister when they graduated, and I want that for me, too. In order for my parents or anyone who wants to see the wedding, that means that they'll have to miss my graduation because of the time it takes to get there. I can't go to a reception with no transportation. I don't think she really checked in with anyone. She just told everyone that that was the date. She originally had it for September, but it wasn't working out for everyone, so she just changed it. My parents are telling me not to talk to about it right now. And I would like it if everyone came to my graduation. I went to theirs. But if I'm being honest, I don't really care if my uncles, aunts, and cousins don't come. I just wanted my parents to be there for me. If both of my parents don't want to come to my graduation, they need to tell me now so I can accept that no one will be there for me instead of prolonging it and refusing to talk about it. Did I say she was to blame? No. It just sucks that I went to everyone's graduation, and I'm going to be the only person without having everyone there. I got my hopes up for nothing, and that's what's upsetting me. I always looked forward to seeing my cousins and my sister graduating, and I liked how everyone in the family was always there. If my parents can't convince her to change the date, I'll accept it and not expect anyone to come until told if someone is. Somebody says to go no contact with their family, thanks, but I couldn't do that to my parents. I love them too much to stop talking to them. I also won't say I'll stop talking to my sister either, but I do view her differently, and I'm not sure if we could ever be as close anymore. It hurt my feelings a lot when she basically told me that she was okay with me not being at her wedding and didn't sound as concerned as me. She made it sound like it wasn't a big deal. It made me realize that I maybe valued her more than she valued me. I'm gonna be hurt regardless not having everyone there, but I don't really know what I can do. Update. I forgot about this account until I checked my other Gmail accounts on my phone. It's May 20th now, and I graduated. Everyone in my family went to my sister's wedding. I didn't go. My parents left me my mom's car so I'd have transportation while they were away and could still make it to my graduation. I graduated top 5 in my class and I felt alone. When my name was called, a few people in the crowd clapped, but it wasn't like everyone else who had their whole families cheering, yelling, and making noise. It was very embarrassingly quiet. You could feel that I didn't have anyone there. However, I didn't even know my school live streamed graduations on Facebook until the day afterwards. The camera angle was so far away you couldn't really see me though. You could only hear my voice and see me when I was at the podium reading the pledge and when they said my name. That was it. Afterwards, I went to McDonald's and then went home. Because my graduation ended around 5 p.m., and my parents didn't make it home until around 11 that night. My parents tried to plan a celebratory dinner for me Sunday, but the place I really wanted to eat at is closed on Sundays and Mondays. Now they're pushing it to this Saturday so everyone in the family could come. I already told them they can't really make up for missing my graduation though, at least that's how I feel. A dinner after the fact doesn't fix how invisible I felt, to be honest. They're upset that I said a dinner wouldn't really make up for missing my graduation. They said they thought long and hard about it and figured I'd still have the chance to graduate college later on, and they could see me then. Meanwhile, they wouldn't have to miss my sister's wedding since she'll only get married once. My sister and the rest of the family have been texting me congratulations now, but it all just feels late, if that makes sense. I don't know. I'm happy I graduated, but I did feel a little overlooked. Stories number 18. Aita for wanting my sister to change her wedding date because it falls on my graduation. My sister is getting married next year, May 17, 2025. This is a problem because I graduate that day. I was informed about the date in March. Long story short, I was looking at my academic calendar just a few days ago and I found out that that was my graduation day. My school usually graduates during the first week of May, so this surprised me. I let my parents know about the date and they told me to tell my sister. When I told her about the date, I asked her if could change the date. She told that she already changed the date 3 times and she wasn't going to change it for a 4th. She told me that she was sorry and she'll understand if I can't come. I was kinda upset by this because I thought it was very dismissive. When I told her that, she got mad and told me that I can't expect her to try and change her date again and that it was set and it was final. Now I'm kinda worried that none of my family members would be at my graduation and I won't be able to see my sister get married. I understand that it's an inconvenience for her, but she could change her wedding date. I have no control over my graduation date. When I talked to my parents about who's going to be at my graduation, they just told me not to worry about that right now because it's not time to stress about that. But I am. My parents are telling me that they are gonna try and convince my sister to change the date, but I doubt she will. Update: Aita for wanting my sister to change her wedding date because it falls on my graduation. I forgot about this account until I checked my other Gmail accounts on my phone. It's May 20th now, and I graduated. Everyone in my family went to my sister's wedding. I didn't go. My parents left me my mom's car so I'd have transportation while they were away and could still make it to my graduation. I graduated top 5 in my class and I felt alone. When my name was called, a few people in the crowd clapped, but it wasn't like everyone else who had their whole families cheering, yelling, and making noise. It was very embarrassingly quiet. You could feel that I didn't have anyone there. However, I didn't even know my school live streamed graduations on Facebook until the day afterwards. The camera angle was so far away you couldn't really see me though. You could only hear my voice and see me when I was at the podium reading the pledge and when they said my name. That was it. Afterwards, I went to McDonald's and then went home. Because my graduation ended around 5 p.m., and my parents didn't make it home until around 11 that night. My parents tried to plan a celebratory dinner for me Sunday, but the place I really wanted to eat at is closed on Sundays and Mondays. Now they're pushing it to this Saturday so everyone in the family could come. I already told them they can't really make up for missing my graduation though. At least that's how I feel. A dinner after the fact doesn't fix how invisible I felt, to be honest. They're upset that I said a dinner wouldn't really make up for missing my graduation. They said they thought long and hard about it and figured I'd still have the chance to graduate college later on, and they could see me then. Meanwhile, they wouldn't have to miss my sister's wedding since she'll only get married once. My sister and the rest of the family have been texting me congratulations now, but it all just feels late, if that makes sense. I don't know. I'm happy I graduated, but I did feel a little overlooked. Stories number 19. Aita for asking my grown adult child to please not smoke marijuana at my vow renewal. I am going to start this by saying that my daughter has been smoking for a very long time and she knows how I feel about it and she knows that the smell bothers me. We do live in a state where it is legal for 21 plus behind closed doors on private property not in close proximity to minors. When I go to her home, I smell it, but I don't say anything to her about it because it's her space. She can do what she wants, but my husband and I don't allow it in our house, so she almost never comes over because she knows I'll say something if I smell it on her or her kids, my grandkids. Next month my husband and I are having an anniversary party birthday celebration. Both of us turn 40 this year, as well as a vow renewal. We had a courthouse wedding right before COVID, so we never got a chance to celebrate with our friends and family like we wanted to, so we decided to do one big celebration now. When we first started discussing what we wanted, I said I would like it if our kids were able to stand with us during our renewal. I have my daughter, his son, and our daughter together. I asked the kids if they were open to do that with us, and they all agreed, and so we made plans and had discussions about what I would like them to wear and whatnot. Last week, I called my daughter to confirm that she had everything under control as far as what she was going to wear, including accessories, and during our conversation I had made the request that her and her husband refrain from smoking while at the park we're having the party at. She became very upset and started to yell at me, asking if I was planning on restricting anyone from drinking alcohol, and my response was that we are not providing any alcohol to anyone, so if they bring it and drink it I can't stop them. She then told me that she doesn't know how long she will be staying then if she won't be allowed to even go to her car to smoke. Again, it's not even legal to use in public spaces like the park. My husband works for the police department and he's invited a few of his friends from work, so there's that as well. So am I the asshole for asking her to refrain from smoking for one day? Stories number 20. Aita for not letting my mother-in-law come over after she destroyed my Millennium Falcon Lego set. I, 38M, live with my wife, 37F, and my 7-year-old son. I work as an engineer and my wife is a senior supervisor at a law firm. I have always loved Legos since I was a kid, and sure, it's kind of childish, but it makes me happy, so I've kept it as a consistent hobby throughout my adult life. In 2024 I spent months building the Millennium Falcon with my son. It's me and my son's pride and joy, and I often show guests who come over. My wife doesn't really get the hype but doesn't mind either. In early March my wife's parents came over for a week to spend time with us. As I usually do with guests, I asked them if they would like to see my Lego collection. They agreed, and I showed both her father and mother my Millennium Falcon. Her father was amazed at the time it took to build my sizable collection, but her mother said that it was a waste of time and that I should focus on being a real man and move up the corporate ladder. I laughed it off because she's pretty old and I figured she just held very old-fashioned beliefs. We left the room and nobody really mentioned it for a few hours, but at dinner her mother said out of nowhere that I should give up on all this Lego nonsense and be a real man. We ignored this and moved on, but you could see in her expression that she was not happy. Nobody said anything about it for the rest of their stay, and all seemed well the morning they left. They left at 3 a.m. to catch a flight, and we waved them off. I went back to bed but the next morning awoke to find my Millennium Falcon smashed to pieces with a note from my wife's mother calmly saying that this was for my own good so that I can be a real man and focus on what matters. It turns out she had quietly destroyed it in the night and left in the morning. Me and especially my son were very upset. I called her in the morning but she refused to apologize. I said that until she apologized they would not be coming back again. My wife is not happy with my decision on this matter, and honestly I'm starting to wonder if I overreacted. Did I go overboard or am I in the right? Comments. Commenter 1. She ruined something you and your son did together. Regardless of her feelings about you, she actively did something that hurt her grandchild. That right there is grounds to not allow her in your home or have a relationship with your child. Your wife needs to think of how disrespected you were as an entire family unit. If she doesn't back you up with this then you have some serious issues. Good luck dude. Commenter 2. The wife let her mother tell him he wasn't a real man at dinner, likely in front of their child, and said nothing. I would be rethinking my relationship if I were OP. Commenter 3. Yeah, I don't often get on the divorce bandwagon, and I'm not now, but Jizo, you are supposed to support and look after one another. Why on earth would OP's wife allow this behavior? Unless she secretly agrees with her mother. Commenter 4. Respecting someone else's property is common decency. You and your son invested time and interest in a hobby that brings you joy. That is just as, if not more, important as increasing your earning potential. When your son is an adult he will retain memories of the time you spent together. Commenter 5. Let GMA know that she just ruined her image of herself to grandson for the rest of his life. Commenter 6. When I was 6, my grandmother threw away one of my Hot Wheels sets because I'm a girl and girls have no business collecting toy cars. I still think of her as be granny and she's been dead for almost 20 years. Update. First off, I want to thank everyone for the outpouring of support. It's been wonderful seeing everyone's advice has helped me realize a few things. I had a good long talk with my wife in attempt to resolve this situation, and we've again called the mother-in-law, which I hoped would diffuse the situation and bring things back down to earth. Instead, tensions have seemed only to have escalated. For anyone who didn't see the original post, my wife's parents came to visit for a week, in which things went relatively smoothly aside from some disparaging comments about my Lego collection from the mother-in-law, but after they left in the night we discovered the Millennium Falcon destroyed with a note from my mother-in-law saying she did this so that I can move on and be a real man. Firstly, after lunch my wife and I discussed the situation adult to adult. I expressed my feelings of her not being behind me in this. She admitted to having harbored feelings against my Lego collection. She also admitted to secretly agreeing partially with my mother. She doesn't think that my mother-in-law should have gone as far as she did, but according to my wife I need to move on. I feel hurt by this since it's been my lifelong hobby, and being an engineer I take great joy in building various creations with Legos. After that, my wife and I were certainly not in agreement, but we were at least on the same page. We also both wanted to resolve things with my mother-in-law, and so that day we called her mother and things did not go well to say the least. I simply told her that I was sorry I had to not let her come back, and I hope things can be resolved quickly. Still feeling upset about the Lego Millennium Falcon, I said that all I asked of her was an apology. She refused, saying that if she bends for me at all I would never get over my Lego obsession. My wife is not happy with any of this, and frankly the marriage is starting to show tensions, which worries me greatly. She seems to be more distant after all of this. My son has developed a strong disliking of the mother-in-law, and I really can't blame him. She has been getting a little crazy and seems to only talk about Trump these days. Should we start considering a senior home for her? So that's the update. Things are getting even worse and I'm not sure if I can salvage the situation. I'll update everyone when new developments occur. Comments. Commenter 1. Seems like some deeper issues here than Legos. My guess would be that your MIL's actions and words are based on things that your wife has said to her. MIL went off the rails, but your wife likely lit this fuse. Commenter 2. I agree. I think the wife is more complicit than OP thinks. I wouldn't even be shocked if the wife asked her mom to do that. Even if she didn't do that, wife is clearly complaining a lot to her mother about this. I recommend marriage counseling, stat. The other piece of this is the son now disliking grandma, who destroyed the project son and dad worked on, and bonded over. If mom agrees with grandma that it was warranted, how long before the son pulls away from his mother? Commenter 3. How fucking stupid. The wife has no place telling him what hobbies he can or can't do, unless it's affecting their finances or getting in OP's way of fulfilling adult responsibilities. I couldn't imagine if my wife tried to take from me the one thing that reconnects me to my inner child, or to my son. Honestly, that's breakup material for me. Commenter 4. This poor kid. His grandma breaks something he spent hours helping to build, and his mom is on granny's side. Commenter 5. It's the disrespect your wife has for you and the fact that she DGAF that this was something that you spent time on and bonded over with your son that's the problem. She DGAF about how this has affected her son. She DGAF and has no respect for your work as an engineer and seems to think it is not a real man's job. You are focused on thinking that you have a MIL problem, but you actually have a wife problem. I'm willing to bet good odds that her mother's behavior has been fueled by your wife, and that's why she had the audacity to do what she did. Neither of them even care about what they are doing to your son with their behavior. They deliberately destroyed something that was not just materially valuable to him but also emotionally significant. A project that he had built with his father that he was proud of. You and your wife need to have a proper come-to-Jesus talk about the state of your relationship and why she is so nonchalant about her mother's wanton destruction of something that meant so much to her own son. Stories number 21. Aita for refusing to go to my brother's wedding if my girlfriend cannot come. I, 31F, have a girlfriend of 3 years, 32F. We don't yet live together but have begun to look for a place to get together as both our flats are too small to have 2 people, so things are very serious. My brother, 34M, is planning his wedding to his fiancée, 29F. I of course assumed my girlfriend would be welcome to come as my +1, after all she's basically one of the family now and we will be living together soon, but no, my brother told me that he doesn't think it's a good idea for her to come as the wedding will be in a church and that his fiancée's family are traditional. He tried to tell me that she could come to the reception etc., but he'd rather she just wasn't at the ceremony. My girlfriend is willing to accept this, but I feel as though my brother is being unfair considering our younger sister's boyfriend of 6 months is invited. It's clear this is just because I am dating a woman, so I told my brother if my girlfriend wasn't welcome at the ceremony I wouldn't come either and I'd just go to the reception after too. This caused a lot of drama from my family, and my parents and siblings are all insisting I'm overreacting, and how it's not personal, and that as it's not my day I should just accept this. Honestly at this point I want to just skip the reception too. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. NTA. Was going to say ESH for not accepting she could attend the reception, but then read your family said, it's not personal. Which it definitely is. Excluding your GF from the wedding to appease the future in-laws is ridiculous. Reply. I was ready to just skip wedding and go to reception with her as it feels scummy to me to just be like, I'll meet you there. Commenter 2. NTA. How else are you supposed to take this? Your brother is willing to accommodate bigots than his sister. I understand that it is his wedding, but to not want your girlfriend there because you two are in a same-sexual relationship is just appalling. Also, the people who are attending the wedding should have their focus on the wedding, not you two. As for your girlfriend, it says a lot that she was willing to go to the reception so that you wouldn't miss the wedding. She is a saint. Commenter 3. The dumbest part of all of this is the clutching of pearls at the idea of two lesbians existing inside of a church. They can't even tolerate the presence of an LGBTQ person. Do they think they're going to make out in the church the whole time? Grow up. Reply. Most ironic part of all, I've been with her longer than he has his wife to be, yet it feels like we're being made out as less. Commenter 4. I want to know why your GF is accepting it. Reply. Because she's an amazing woman who doesn't want to cause any more issues or alienate me from my family. Commenter 5. Your brother is very obviously trying to appeal to his more traditional fiancé's family. Have you spent time with the fiancé? How does she act around you? Reply. That's the really weird thing, she's been super nice to me and even went out for lunch with me and my girlfriend one time, so I'm very confused about this. I'm considering phoning her to discuss this, but my girlfriend is asking me not to rock the boat. Update 1. Edit. A little update: as I'm just off the phone with brother's fiancé, she had no idea about any of this and was horrified and told me no, her family is not traditional in that sense, in fact her gay cousin is going to be her maid of honor. My brother told her that my girlfriend had worked that day. Update 2. Edit 2. So after talking with my girlfriend I found out that before she and I were officially dating my brother had drunkenly made a pass at her. She of course turned him down, and as we weren't dating then and she figured he wouldn't remember, she never brought it up. It's the only reason beyond the fact we're lesbian couple she can think of for why he may have a grudge against her. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Was your brother in a relationship with his future wife when he tried to make a pass at your girlfriend? If yes, it would be interesting in asking him directly if that's the secret he wants to keep and the reason why he doesn't want her there. Could there be more that neither you nor his girlfriend know about him? Reply. No, this was before my girlfriend and I were dating, and we've been together longer than him and his future wife. Update 3. I first of all want to thank everyone for all your kind words and support. My girlfriend and I have decided we will not be attending the wedding or reception if it goes ahead. Instead, I've booked us a weekend trip at a cute Airbnb on the beach at the same time, and leftover money will be going to the deposit of our future home. Secondly, I've been in touch with my brother about this. Apparently his fiancée has ripped him a new one for saying this about her family, and based on how bad the argument was the entire wedding may be out the window, but that is just my speculation. Of course he blames me and tells me how my phase has caused him so much trouble in his relationship and possibly his wedding. I'm bisexual and he seems convinced I'll end up with a man eventually, so this is just a phase. I'm going zero contact for a while until he makes amends with me, and even then it will depend. Meanwhile, I've invited my potential SL to come visit for a bit if she needs to get away from him and get her head together. Update 4. Wow, I never expected this to blow up like it did. Thank you all for your support and input as well as messages. The wedding isn't off but it is postponed. My future SIL is staying engaged to him but demanding he go through therapy before she considers marrying him, as he basically broke down and a lot of personal issues came to light when they talked. Future SIL is moving back to stay with her parents for a bit. My family did not know the reason why he wanted to keep my girlfriend from the wedding and were horrified and have apologized. They were just trying to prevent drama. Finally, my future SIL's family has invited me and my girlfriend to theirs for Christmas dinner so we can get to know them and see what my brother said is in no way true. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Your last edit. Are you and your partner monogamous or? Because if you're open to a third, all I am gonna say is consider stealing the potential SIL too, and you can end this family fight as the once and for all victor. Assert dominance as the superior sibling. Reply. We're monogamous and she is straight, but if when we get our new place and she needs a place to stay for a while she'll be more than welcome. She has already been offered my sofa if she needs some space from my brother for a bit. Stories number 22. Aita for calling off my wedding after finding out my fiancé never had the money he promised to contribute. I, 33F, have been with my partner, 32M, for 5 years. He proposed in March 2024 and we agreed to get married in December 2025. He promised to cover 70% of the wedding costs and said he'd transfer money to my account whenever I paid for something. I ended up handling all the planning and bookings. By April this year, I had already paid around 500k, local currency. But when I checked, he hadn't sent me a single cent. I kept reminding him, and he always said, yes, baby, after work. I work in an accounting firm with over 40 clients, so I'm insanely busy and didn't have time to double-check every day. But I trusted him. When we finally sat down to talk about it, I found out he didn't actually have the money. He planned to ask his parents or use future income, meaning he had been lying about having savings. All this time, he bragged about being financially stable and successful. He's a lawyer, but apparently, it was all talk. I understand that people can go through tough financial times, but lying about it and letting me carry all the burden. That felt like a betrayal. I decided to call off the wedding and the relationship. Now he's throwing the wedding expenses in my face, even though I did all the work. My parents think I should go through with it since the engagement has already been announced to family. Aita for calling it off. I feel heartbroken, used, and honestly, fooled. And seriously, if you can't afford to get married, why propose in the first place? Update, Aita for calling off my wedding after finding out my fiancé never had the money he promised to contribute. Hi everyone, thank you so much for the support. I didn't expect my post to get much attention, but reading your responses helped me feel less alone and more validated in what I was feeling. It's been a week since I called everything off. He's been texting and calling non-stop, flip-flopping between apologizing and guilt-tripping me. At one point he said, "We can still fix this, it's just money." But it was never just about the money. It was the lying, the manipulation, the months of pretending to be someone he wasn't, and letting me drown financially and emotionally while he played the role of the dependable fiancé. I'm staying with a close friend for now while I sort things out. I've cried more than I thought possible, but each day I feel a little lighter. The fog is lifting. His family finally reached out, trying to mediate. His mom even asked if we could just scale down the wedding instead of canceling it. I told them very calmly that there is no wedding to scale down. I'm done. And I mean it. I've also started looking through everything I paid for, checking which vendors I can cancel or get partial refunds from. It sucks, NGL, but I'd rather lose money than lose myself in a marriage built on lies. My parents are slowly coming around. My dad said something last night that really hit me: it's better to disappoint people for a moment than to disappoint yourself for a lifetime. I don't know what comes next. But I know what I left behind, and I know it was the right thing to do. Thank you so much again, you really helped me a lot. Stories number 23. Aita for not letting my daughter's husband see her after her birth. I, 47F, have a daughter, 24F, named Layla who just gave birth to her first child. I don't know much, but I know that she and her husband Matt, 27M, have been having issues on what to name their child. Matt wants to name their baby a ridiculous name which I won't specifically name here, but it's a month. And not something like June, May, or April. Something like October with a middle name that's a color, and once again not something like Violet or Scarlet. Meanwhile Layla wants a more practical name. Because of all this they have been in marriage counseling which hasn't have seemed to work. A week ago Layla gave birth but had to stay hospitalized because of complications. Right after her birth she was very out of it and wasn't in her right mind. Matt took advantage of this, and when I asked him what they were going to name their baby he stated the name he wanted. I knew Layla wouldn't like this and that it was supposed to be a joint decision, so I didn't allow him to sign anything, which resulted in him not being able to legally sign off as her father. When Layla woke up she thanked me for it, but Matt has been refusing to see their baby. What was supposed to be a beautiful phase in their life has been spoiled by his family bombarding her with texts and calls. Now I'm starting to think I may have gone too far since he hasn't seen his baby in weeks. Aita Reddit. To be clear, Matt was hours away at the time of Layla's birth. I asked him what they were going to name their baby on call. When I heard his response I didn't tell him which hospital we were at, so he had no way of coming in and signing anything. Stories number 24. I girl bossed too hard and now I'm the breadwinner and don't want to be. I 31F and my 31M husband both work in similar fields. I work two positions doing essentially the same thing, one being a self-employment gig and the other a full-time salary position with all the benefits. My husband's job is hourly with no benefits. Now that we're nearing the age where if we want to have kids, we gotta have them soonish, and my job is the primary source of income, retirement, and healthcare, I don't know what to do. I really value being able to be home with children for the first 1 to 2 years of life. I worked at a daycare and in my state the baby ratio is 1 to 4 and I just don't want to do daycare. If we could survive on his income alone. I bring in about 60% of our total income and his is 40%. His job doesn't offer health insurance, his income is variable, and out-of-pocket healthcare is incredibly expensive. I don't know how in the world to navigate this. I feel like it's so inappropriate to tell him he needs to get another job or work more or anything along those lines to make up for my eventual long-term maternity leave. We're both master's level educated, married, and homeowners and still struggling to imagine surviving as parents in this economy solely due to finances. Just a sad reality. I could go into a longer sob story there, just trying to plan ahead and visualize things. Any support or suggestions are appreciated. Edit. Woza, the amount of comments is incredibly overwhelming. Some of you have offered really practical and useful advice or support and some others are being downright cruel. I'll probably leave this up for only a little while longer. I've gotten the input that has helped me to make a plan and do not need any additional negativity or feelings of overwhelm. Stories number 25. What crimes did my wife commit? My wife came to me on Friday and asked if I had spoken to our daughter recently. I told her I had not but asked why she wanted to know. She said, I got a phone call from our daughter and she is threatening to sue us for money, her clothes, and the car. I asked my wife what money she is thinking of suing us for and my wife said that she moved $4,500 from my daughter's checking account into a trust account that daughter cannot touch until she is 21. I asked my wife if her name was on the account. She said, I was there when she opened it. Which, WTF are you thinking? I told her that was identity theft. She said, no, she gave me the PIN when we opened the account. Okay then. That makes no sense. I then checked my email and my daughter says that my wife used a forged check to take all of the money out of her account. The total was indeed $4,500. My daughter says that she has the proof that the check was forged. I am thinking that, at a minimum, my wife can be charged with identity theft, forgery, and fraud. Am I wrong in thinking that this would be a second-class felony under PA law because of the amount involved? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. You are correct in that your wife has fucked up, forged bank instruments to fraudulently withdraw funds, and quite possibly done worse. Your daughter needs to run her credit report ASAP. There may be other surprises waiting in the wings that you don't know about. You and your wife need to return this money. If you put $4,500 into a trust for your daughter, that's great. You still need to put $4,500 back into her checking account. Beyond that, clothes that you bought for your daughter are going to be hers. If the car is titled in your name, it's your car. If it's titled in hers, it is hers. This sounds like some manner of dispute is happening between your wife and your daughter. If that's the case, it's about to get much uglier if you don't fix this ASAP, and you are not going to win. Reply. I have absolutely no misgivings about the fact that what my wife did was absolutely wrong on every level imaginable. The money has not gone into any of my accounts. I am 99% sure that my wife opened a new account in her name only and had it receive the money from my daughter's account. I have told my wife to return the money and she refuses to do so unless my daughter communicates with her. Commenter 2. My wife said that she moved $4,500 from my daughter's checking account into a trust account. Who originally deposited that money into your daughter's checking account, and why? She gave me the PIN when we opened the account. That may have been against your daughter's agreement with the bank, but it doesn't automatically authorize your wife to make use of the funds in the account. My wife used a forged check to take all of the money out of her account. Even if your wife had legitimate access to the account herself, forging a check in your daughter's name would be a fairly serious crime. If the money was originally your wife's, then it would be a good idea to return it since there's some fairly strong evidence that the way your wife went about moving it may have been unlawful. If the money was originally your daughter's, such as from her own paychecks or from gifts to her, then your wife absolutely needs to return the money immediately. I would strongly recommend that you have a come-to-Jesus conversation with your wife about respecting your daughter's personal boundaries as an adult, and that taking your daughter's money and locking it away is completely unacceptable regardless of why she did it. She's exposed both of you to some legal risks, and she's behaved exceptionally badly towards her daughter. If this is a habit for her, then you may want to inspect your own finances closely, as well. Reply. As far as I know, the money is a combination of excess scholarship cash and a student loan. It was absolutely my daughter's money. I have told my wife that the fact that she has a PIN does not give her the right to use it. My wife has a very serious issue with respecting boundaries. I have had many conversations with my wife regarding her inability to respect boundaries. If my daughter speaks to an attorney, I will answer any and all questions as honestly as I can. If any criminal charges come of this, then it is high time my wife faced the music. I hate to say that, but it's the only way some people learn. Update. Apparently there were 4 checks issued to withdraw all of the money. A local police department has attempted to contact my wife, but she did not answer the call because she didn't recognize the number. My wife says that if my daughter files a suit, she will file a counterclaim for emotional distress in the amount of $5,000. She says that she has a therapist who is willing to testify as to the devastating emotional stress my daughter has caused her. She also says that she will hire an attorney while my daughter will be stuck with a free attorney who doesn't do anything. I have kept my daughter informed and she is unperturbed by my wife's threats. I have told my daughter that I will speak to any authority and will not lie on behalf of any party. I am well aware of the fact that my wife needs professional help. Our pastor advised her to seek mental help. Her parents asked her to seek mental help. Her children asked her to seek mental help. I have asked her to seek mental help. She says that she is seeing a therapist, but she will not provide me with a name and says that she is paying for it out of pocket. I cannot force her to get mental help unless she is acutely homicidal or acutely suicidal. If I could go down the block to the courthouse at lunchtime and get her put on a 72-hour hold for being a jerk, I'd do that. Update 2. My wife seems shocked that the police would investigate this for free. My wife believes that police investigating a crime is a waste of taxpayer money. My wife now wants to go to family counseling. I told her that our daughter would not agree to that and she said, then she won't get her money. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. None of this makes sense. Give the money back. From what I can make out, it sounds very likely your wife committed the crimes you list and possibly more. Reply. If you knew my wife, I could tell you this story and leave out the fact that perpetrator was my wife and you would say, your wife did this thing didn't she? When a deleted commenter told OOP to grow a spine and leave. 5 years ago, my wife suffered an aneurysm. 3 years ago premenopause kicked in. Also 3 years ago, my oldest daughter moved out. At some point paranoia and insecurity crept into her brain. But, up until 2 months ago, she still got along with my youngest. The youngest, of course, being the person whose money was taken. I suppose a man with a spine would have left after the aneurysm. Maybe he would have waited a bit and left after menopause kicked in. Certainly he should have left after his wife began to ask why he was bugging her phone and computer, right? Men with spines don't stick it out and hope that the woman they married will get better. Men with spines just fucking leave. Update. Docket sheet has gone up on the PA Unified Judicial System website. She has not yet been arrested. Third-degree felony, access device issued to another who did not authorize use penalty is up to 7 years in prison and or up to $15,000 in fines. First-degree misdemeanor, theft by unlawful taking, movable property, 18 Section 3921 subsection A. Penalty is up to 5 years in prison and a minimum fine of $1,500 up to $10,000. I am sure there could have been more charges. Hopefully, they will let her plead down to some lesser offense, slap her with a hefty fine, and make her pay restitution. Hopefully, she will learn a lesson. Editor's note, final update was a comment on someone else's post 2 years later. Final update. First, you earned that scholarship money. Not your mom is a controlling well, it rhymes with ditch. I am sorry you are going through this. Second, my wife did to our daughter almost the same thing, account was in my daughter's name only, though, that your mother did to you and for pretty much the same reason. Eventually, my wife was charged with a felony and a misdemeanor. I got to pay approximately $4,000 to hire a defense attorney. My daughter got her money back and asked the state to drop the charges, which my wife spun as a victory on her own part. My wife's bad actions were a very serious factor in my decision to file for divorce last year. I can't have my wife trying to control my daughter's lives and expecting me to defend her when she is called out. Stories number 26. People like to mention that women used to have kids at 18 but don't like to mention that they continue to have them until menopause. That's what peasants back then did. Do you think they didn't have sex after the wife was like 30? Protection didn't really exist, and was mostly used by courtesans, medicine mixtures or something. After the child was born, if they wanted it, they kept it, but if the child was born the wrong gender or the wrong time, it was probably getting left in a bush or to nuns. Whenever people are like, all women are infertile when they're 30, there's some kind of sex predator who only want young girls and cherry-pick history. That's how they used to have like 10 kids. They had them until the woman was capable of it. They weren't like, my birth defects, somehow they mention only women, not the risks for old men who want kids. Stories number 27. Aita for leaving a family gathering after seeing my sister's horrible food hygiene. My 35F family holds a family gathering every year. This year, my sister Sarah, 38F, and her husband hosted. Me and Sarah have always argued, she's my sister and I love her dearly, but there are some parts of her that frustrate me, in particular her laziness around hygiene. Ever since we were kids, she's always had a very carefree attitude around hygiene. For example, she wouldn't wash her hands in the bathroom because it was just a number one. This has gotten a little better since entering adulthood, especially after getting married, however it is still a big problem, not out of ignorance but out of genuine laziness. We spoke a few times in the lead up to the gathering, and I tried to reason with her. She promised everything would be clean, but called me dramatic and seemed to brush my concerns off. Fast forward to last weekend, everything is going fine. I am helping to prepare the salad while my sister is cutting up some chicken for her husband to grill up. Suddenly, I see her pick up the same knife she had just been using to cut up the raw chicken and proceed to start cutting up the bread. I asked her what she thinks she's doing, to which she just stared at me until I explained. She gave a half-hearted apology and went to wash the knife. At this point I was extremely angry. Not only could this make someone sick, but our other sister who was also at the gathering is vegetarian, and Sarah had promised her that there would be no cross-contamination. Here is where I think I might have become the AH. I put down what I was doing, grabbed mine and my husband's stuff and went outside. I explained what had just happened to the rest of the family, apologized for having to go, and me, my husband and our daughter left. While the rest of the family agreed with my concerns, many of them were upset about the fact we just left, especially as my husband and I were both meant to be helping with the catering, as well as the fact we get to see each other so rarely. I do feel bad for leaving, but I didn't want to escalate the situation, nor did I want my daughter to get caught up in any arguments. Stories number 28. Aita for choosing to live with my ex-stepmom instead of my dad after their divorce. I, 18F, are about to graduate high school and things have been weird at home for a while, but now everything's kind of blown up and I'm getting a lot of mixed reactions, so I figured I'd post here. My dad remarried when I was 14. His new wife had 2 kids from a previous marriage who were younger than me. From the start, she was polite, but cold. Never rude, but definitely distant. She always seemed more relaxed and affectionate with her kids, which hurt, but I figured maybe that was just natural. But whenever I came in the room she stopped laughing and looked at me as if I was a danger of hurting her or her children. For years I felt like I was walking on eggshells around her. I tried being friendly, helping out with her kids, giving her space, etc., but it never felt like I was truly welcome in my own home. It hurt, but I got used to it. But something changed this past year. I don't know exactly what triggered it, but stepmom started acting different. More present. Kinder. She started checking in on me, inviting me to sit with her and her kids more, even standing up for me when my dad would snap or criticize me. And that's when things started to click between us. Turns out, my dad had told stepmom a lot of stuff about me when they first got together, things like I was manipulative, dishonest, moody, lazy, and emotionally unstable. Basically made me sound like some troubled, dramatic teenager who couldn't be trusted. I found this out because I overheard them fight about it. She apologized. Said she realized how wrong she'd been and how my dad was constantly nitpicking, belittling, and controlling, and how she never saw it clearly until she started watching how he treated me versus everyone else. They divorced about 2 months ago. My dad expected me to stay with him. Legally I could do whatever since I'm 18. But I told him I wanted to live with stepmom. It caused a whole explosion. He said I was choosing a woman who never even wanted me. That I was turning my back on my real family. His parents, my grandparents, called me ungrateful. Even a few family friends said I was being disloyal and just trying to hurt him. But here's the thing, Dana does want me now. She's apologized, made an effort, and treats me like a human being. She is the one coming to visit my school competitions and helps me whenever I ask her. My dad hasn't taken a real interest in me in years. She listens. She makes space for me. She showed me what it feels like to be safe. So, Aita for choosing to live with my former stepmom instead of my dad. Stories number 29. Husband, 37M, attempted to manipulate me. 35F I called his bluff. Now what? I, 35F, have been married to my husband, 37M, for 512 years, and we have an 18mo daughter. We have generally had a good marriage, but have repeatedly had the same 2 arguments for 3+ years. The first argument is that I work full-time, pay 85% of our bills and do all of the cooking, cleaning, shopping, laundry, running of the household, etc. He also works full-time, but after work comes home and immediately takes his work clothes off, throws them on the couch in my living room and goes into the family room to watch YouTube. I have repeatedly asked for help and get the runaround. The second is that he has a small porn addiction and suffers from premature ejaculation. An issue in itself but not our main problem currently. The last week and a half or so, I had been running 80 miles an hour getting ready for the holiday this week. I was cleaning the house, washing the bedding in the guest room, cleaning the fridge, doing all the bits and pieces that you need to do to host family for Thanksgiving. I was also doing all of my daily things as well. For example, on a typical day, I wake up, make sure his, mine, and the baby's lunches are packed, she's dressed for daycare, my work bag is packed, drive to work. After work I drive to the daycare to pick up baby girl, often taking meetings via phone on the commute. Do any errands that need done, grocery, Costco, pharmacy, etc., come home, immediately breastfeed the baby, start dinner so we can eat once he's home, give the baby a bath, let her play while I clean off the table, do the dishes, clean the kitchen, tidy up, feed her again, get her to sleep and then finally take a shower myself. It's basic daily tasks, but I don't stop until 9 to 10 at night. Last week I asked again for help but was told that he needed the break because he is tired. I naturally told him that I never get a break and I'm tired too and need help with the house, and if he can't contribute half financially he can at least contribute half of the cleaning. He shut down and just gave me the silent treatment for 2 days, then asked me if I wanted to go to his mother's house with him and the baby. I said only if he wasn't going to ignore me the whole time. That was the match that lit the fuse. He exploded. Evidently I have done nothing but bitch for the last 3 years, he hates cleaning and isn't going to do it, that if him contributing is such a big deal then we should divorce. I asked him to explain what that looks like to him. He said, I'll get an apartment and sign the house over to you, refinance it in your name. We'll split custody 50-50 and split her expenses 50-50 as well. He then stormed out of the house and went to his mother's until about 1 a.m. He again gave me the silent treatment for 2 days. The other day I asked him how his apartment hunting was going and he said, "What?" I told him I thought he was right, I have been bitching about this for 3 years, I'm miserable and he's not helping make my life easier. That I agreed divorce is the best option and that I would rather separate as friends and be good cop rents than grow to hate him and feel stuck in a toxic marriage. He then said, "I only said that to scare you into shutting up." Basically he attempted to emotionally manipulate me to get his way. As someone who grew up in a toxic and abusive childhood, this immediately shut me down emotionally. Like I look at him and I feel nothing. He is trying now to get back in my good graces, bringing flowers, chocolates, and all it does is make me angrier. I need advice. Is the fact that he tried to manipulate me and admitted it a valid reason for me to just want to shut this down? Because I have to be honest, I'm tempted to ruin Thanksgiving. I don't know if I'm just angry and reacting out of that or if I am truly at the end of my rope. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, follow through and give him that divorce. You are already taking care of everything, it'll be easier without him in the house with you. And you'll at least get a break during his custody time. I'm honestly just surprised you had a child with him if this has been a problem for 3+ years. Reply, ha. That was my thought too and you are right, at first it didn't seem like a huge issue, and it was only a couple months after I started bringing it up that I got pregnant. Now it's like he thinks I'm trapped and have to put up with scraps. Commenter 2, he's not just manipulating you, he's exploiting you. You're carrying the financial burden, all household responsibilities, childcare, and he tried to use divorce as a weapon when you asked for basic partnership. His admission that he was trying to scare you into shutting up shows he views your valid needs as an inconvenience to be silenced. You're already functioning as a single parent while bankrolling his lifestyle. The only difference is you have an adult dependent who throws his clothes on your couch and watches YouTube while you exhaust yourself. The flowers and chocolates now aren't remorse, they're panic because his emotional blackmail didn't work. You're not overreacting, you're finally seeing clearly. When someone tells you they'd rather divorce than contribute to their own household, and then admits they were just trying to scare you into compliance, believe that revelation. He's showing you he prioritizes his comfort over your well-being and will use emotional warfare to maintain it. You're not angry because of the manipulation attempt, you're angry because it exposed the fundamental disrespect at the core of your marriage. He contributes minimally financially, does nothing domestically, and when confronted, tries to weaponize divorce to silence you. The flowers aren't going to fix this level of betrayal. Commenter 3, he wants 50-50 custody yet cannot manage 50-50 parenting with the other parent in the home. If he's somehow granted 50% custody he is in for a massive shock. Commenter 4, good. Let him learn. This man fucked around and it's find out time. You've called a lawyer, right? You need to get the drop on him for filing before his mommy does it for him. And congratulations on your upcoming liberation from the sad freeloading limp dick you're married to. Reply, I have an appointment with one next week for a consult. And what makes me laugh is my SIL knows about the issue and 100% thinks his mom and dad are going to be angry with him. Evidently they have told him he needs to step up previously. OOP explains why her husband only was paying 15% of the bills. Reply, I make double what he makes. So I put down the money for the house. He pays half the mortgage, I pay literally everything else, from utilities to daily living expenses. The other half off the mortgage would hurt, but I could pay it on my own and still have disposable income. Commenter 5, he bought you flowers and chocolates. You mean he didn't get on his hands and knees and scrub the floors, do the washing? Get the shopping in. Bath the baby. Apply for better paid jobs. He got flowers and chocolates in response to this. Geez. Reply, I'd settle for using the Swiffer honestly. That's why the chocolates make me so angry. It's just an avoidance and an I did something to try and excuse himself. Commenter 6, you don't need permission to leave but here it is anyway, you have permission to leave this really toxic situation and you will probably be happier without him dragging you down. Reply, I don't know why this comment made me cry, but it did. I think I did need permission to leave. I feel selfish for wanting more and breaking the family. I was raised in a family where divorce wasn't an option. Now I have cut off my family and don't have that additional pressure but I guess old wounds still fester. Does OOP's husband do any tasks at home? Reply, he mows the front yard and takes the garbage out to the curb. He will empty the recycling bin if it's full. As far as parenting, he will be in the room with her while she plays, but no real interaction. He does take her to daycare in the morning because it's on the way to his job. How did OOP and her husband meet? Reply, he found me online. Then turned out I was friends with his brother's wife already and we had just never met. What do OOP and her husband do for the living? Reply, I work in a corporate job and he is currently courier. Update. Firstly, I wanted to say thank you to all of you who responded and gave encouragement, you helped more than you know. I did it. I filed for divorce, our divorce should be final mid-June. He fought it for a few months, but finally seems to see that I can't move on and I won't let him rug sweep it anymore. He is still talking about hoping for a future reconciliation, but I told him that honestly without massive amounts of therapy for both of us, I don't see much hope there. Honestly, once he accepted that I wasn't giving in and that the divorce was real, he was very agreeable to discussing terms and working with me on custody arrangements, housing, etc. That's not to say we didn't have our drama, Lord knows we did. Fortunately, nothing too physical towards me. He grabbed me a few times trying to force me to stay in a room to get yelled at, but I set him straight real quick there. His threats were mostly towards self-harm. The first time was back in February. He was still in denial that I had filed and was very angry about losing the best things in his life. He threatened to go downstairs and take his own life. Because I'm stubborn as the day is long and don't have the sense God gave a goose, I followed him down there. I ended up wrestling his gun away and locking myself and the toddler in the bedroom. I should have called the police. I still don't know why I didn't. Instead I called his brother and told him to come get him. They did, and the next day I took the gun, that was unloaded and never had ammo because he was manipulating me again, to his parents and said if that gun made another appearance in my home or around my child I would ensure he was never around her again. It hasn't been seen since. A few weeks later, on their birthday, toddler and STBX share a birthday, he jumped off my 2-story deck after my daughter's birthday party. I didn't see it, I came down the hall and our 2-year-old said, "Mama, Daddy fall." I walked outside and he was kneeling by my lawnmower, said he was fixing it. Obviously, my 2-year-old hasn't learned to lie yet. I text my friend and said, I'm pretty sure he just jumped off the deck. He doesn't seem hurt but I don't care what to do. As I hit send I hear him on the deck talking to our kid. I looked out the door and he's leaning off the edge obviously about to jump again. I lost it. It probably wasn't the appropriate thing to say, and I probably am a terrible person for saying it, but it worked and I don't regret it. I told him, so help me God, if you jump off this deck and die, I will move and your family will likely only see her once a year. You jump off this deck and live and I guarantee you will never see her unsupervised again. You step back over that railing and get both feet on this deck right now, or I swear to God, I'll make sure of it. He stepped back on the deck pretty quickly. He of course wanted to then argue about how I am driving him to this. How he doesn't deserve to be left alone. I'm breaking his heart. I reminded him he spent the last almost 4 years now breaking my heart and spirit and I was done having this conversation. As I turned to walk away, this man grabbed my wrist to force me to turn around. I already had my phone in my hand and I never called 911 so fast. The police showed up and took him to the hospital for a psych evaluation. I was under the impression that a suicide attempt in this state required a 72-hour hold. They released him after 2 hours, suggesting he talk to a therapist. I didn't want to involve the police, I tried to avoid it, but I kind of wish I had involved them earlier. He has been much more docile and accepting since. No more grabbing, no more threats. We still argue, but at least the worst part seems to have disappeared. It helps that even his parents are telling him, she called the cops on you, she's crazy, let her go. I'm fine with being labeled the crazy one. I've been called worse by better people. TLDR, little bit of drama, but everything is going good now and divorce should be final in mid-June. Send good vibes, thank you again. Y'all were the voice of reason I needed, and you have no idea how many times I read those comments when I needed encouragement and felt like I had no one in my corner. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, may be good to document all of these actions with your attorney. And that he be required to have supervised visitation for the foreseeable future, regardless of how he is acting now. He still doesn't sound mentally stable enough to be a sole parent during his time with your child, or beyond some other action such as abducting your kid. Sorry you've gone through all this. But I think your child's safety should be your paramount thoughts. Reply, absolutely. Have made sure everything is documented and ensured he is in fact seeing a therapist. Fortunately, his time with our kid happens with his parents present, as he is staying there for now. They might not like me very much right now, but I trust them. They have made it very clear that I'm still family to them. Commenter 2, I'm glad you are aiming to be free. But from reading that my heart and stomach plummeted. Especially when you said he is now more docile and accepting. This particular time is now the most dangerous for you and your daughter. He's unstable and has access to a gun. You need to insist he's never unsupervised around her. You need to stop being around him. I really hope I'm proven wrong here, but everything is pointing to him escalating. Commenter 3, I'm proud of you for getting out. You gave him more chances than most would, and his own actions sealed the deal. He weapon Z threats, manipulated your emotions, refused to contribute as a partner, and tried to keep control even through the divorce. You stayed strong through it all, for yourself and your daughter. Here's to your peace, your freedom, and your future. Stories number 30. Entitled Neighbor left a note on my car parked legally on the street. Got a note on my car this morning that said, please consider when you have no intention of going out for so far 3 days. By parking like this you made it incredibly difficult for people to turn around. Our elderly relatives visited at me weekend and were unable to park outside our house. Please be considerate as you don't even live down this road. Talked to the lady and explained. I live round the corner on a walkway attached to the road. There was plenty of space for touring at least a car and a half. I got sick and was in bed with a vomiting bug on day 2. She has space on her driveway for 2 cars if she backs one up to the garage. None of which matter to her as apparently, it's taking the piss to park on a public road in front of someone's house on weekend. Weekdays are fine though. Also apparently it's my fault for choosing to live in a house on a walkway and no driveway. She didn't seem to like when I informed her that I didn't have much choice in what house my parents bought before I was born. I honestly went to talk to her assuming it was a case of misunderstand. If she was polite I would have offered to give her a way to contact me to move my car next time if I could, but entitled bitches think they own the public road. Stories number 31. I don't want to lose my future because of my disabled brother. My parents are divorced, I have a severely mentally disabled brother and he currently lives with my dad and me, 17F, and my youngest brother live with my mom. My dad is leaving the country so my mom will get custody of my disabled brother. My disabled brother has been with my dad for 4 years, these were the best years of my life. Before that I didn't have my own room, my grades were bad, I spent 90% of my time cleaning and taking care of him, which was mentally and physically exhausting to the point that I attempted suicide on my 13th birthday. I had no time for myself, I barely got any sleep because he'd be screaming until 5 a.m. and I had to wake up at 7 for school. My mom didn't have any time either since she's always cooking or cleaning. We also don't have any family to help us out. After he left I was extremely happy, not because I hate my brother, I love him a lot, but because I finally escaped the mental hell I was living in. I found myself, started doing sports and finally found what I wanted to do with my life. To hear that my brother is coming back is genuinely making me consider ending my life. He's coming back home before my finals. I see no hope and no future for myself anymore. There's quite literally no escape when he comes back, I can't move out because I need to help my mom. I'm scared that I'll be trapped like this my entire life taking care of him with no future for myself. I was so happy to finally have found a goal and a dream. I've been working so hard on it for the past 2 years and it's about to get dumped in the trash. This post is honestly my last resort. I don't know what to do. We are pretty broke on top of this. We can't pay for any help. My brother coming back is the equivalent of being thrown in hell and being trapped forever to me. My mom could die any moment and I could be left with 2 brothers to take care of. This was my worst ever nightmare and it might actually come true. I told my mom about this and she told me I was being selfish. I love my brother but I wanted a life for myself. I made a decision to be child-free because I spent my whole life taking care of my siblings and I've had enough. I lost my identity and I want it back. Edit. Thank you all so much for your support, I will reply to everyone as fast as I can. Sorry for not pointing out that I'm from Belgium, we have applied for some government support but haven't heard back. I'd also like to point out that the reason my dad isn't taking responsibility for any of this is because he wants no communication with my mom and in order to see us he has to talk to my mom first since we are minors. He decided to stop all contact and leave Belgium at once. Thank you all again. Stories number 32. Aita for telling my fiancé that if he expects me to contribute 50-50, we have to make some serious lifestyle changes. My 26F, fiancé, 26M, sat me down yesterday and gave me a long talk about how he feels like I don't contribute enough to the household, particularly in the financial sense. I was a bit caught off guard by this, but was willing to hear him out, since he wasn't wrong. He makes a lot more than I do, and we've always split bills accordingly, which ends up being about 80% him. I asked what he wanted me to pay now, and he was adamant about it being 50-50. I asked if everything was okay with his job, or if he needed to take fewer hours, and he wouldn't answer me. I honestly wouldn't have gotten upset if there seemed like an actual reason behind it, but he just said he'd been thinking about it a lot, over and over, every time I asked what brought him to this conclusion, what was going on, and eventually he just said, "This is how it's going to be, take it or leave it." Those exact words, in response to literally everything I said. Full shutdown. No explanations. I told him that was fine, I'll take it, and then asked if he'd made a Zillow account yet, or expected me to. He looked confused, and asked why we would need a Zillow account. I explained that there's no way I can afford half rent on our current place, so we'll probably have to move into a one-bedroom apartment. He got mad and asked why I didn't have savings. I told him that I do, but I'm not paying rent out of my savings, because that's a terrible and unsustainable idea. I also began to go over what our new food budget would be, our new entertainment budget, and that we'd probably have to sell the cars and get one less expensive one because I can't afford half of the payments on an Audi and a Land Rover. Then I explained that date nights would probably have to be reduced too, and we could still do, like Buffalo Wild Wings or something, but I preferred Thursday nights because you get 2 orders of boneless wings for one. Basically, if he wants me to pay half, we're living within my means, not his anymore. He kind of agreed to it, but since then, he's been incredibly angry. He's not saying or doing anything, but it's like he's walking around the house in this cloud of pissed off. I sent him 6 Zillow listings, all of which he's called uninhabitable for various reasons, some of which I think were valid, others I disagree with. He's now saying that I'm being unfair and manipulative, and that he tried to come to me with a serious concern about our relationship and I'm making it impossible for him to talk to me, and bulldozing over him. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, can I ask what your salary and his salary are? Like general numbers. A charitable take on his actions could be that he resents not having more money, and is trying to inspire you to try to up your salary or change into a more lucrative promotion career so you can both be living the high life. He might be imaging how great it would be to have 200% of his income, instead of 120%. If that's the case, he's still going about it a shite and douche way. Personally, I agree with many other comments someone has insinuated that you're a gold digger, and he was expecting you to break up with him, not problem solve. Reply, I make around $35K a year. He makes around $120K a year. It's not like there's some magical, be rich suddenly, button I can press. I'm a preschool teacher, and I don't have a college degree, and I certainly can't afford a college degree at this point without asking for help or taking out insane loans. Commenter 2, NTA. To me, it sounds like something happened with his job and he's not able to tell you yet, for whatever reasons. I would try to have another calm chat about it with him, also showing him how much you'd be able to afford long term. Don't move forward with your plans of getting married until you both agree on your finances. Reply, I asked about the job, and he wouldn't give me a straight answer. The frustrating part is that I honestly do not mind downsizing, and if I found out tomorrow he lost a job, I'd literally be fine selling what we have and living in a trailer together off just my income, but this feels like some weird power play instead. Commenter, I get a feeling that his aim was to try and make you more ambitious. You need to equal him in ability to pay the bills, so you need to either get a promotion or a new job paying the same as him. So NTA, but your partner is a prick for not thinking things through and trying to strong-arm you into doing something without discussing it first. Reply, I don't know how I'd go about doing that, all things considered. It's not like there's some magical, be rich suddenly, button I can press. I'm a preschool teacher, and I don't have a college degree, and I certainly can't afford a college degree at this point without asking for help or taking out insane loans. Commenter 2, if you can barely afford your basic living expenses, why the hell are you driving an Audi or Range? This is a classic example of lifestyle creep. If you barely make enough to contribute to rent, driving a luxury car is shameful. You're NTA, you're just a spoiled and unrealistic person. Reply, he gave me the Audi as a birthday present. It was not something I was aware of until it was in the driveway with a big pink bow and confetti. Literally like a car commercial. He's always had a bit of a flair for the dramatic. Commenter 3, NTA. What podcasts does he listen to? Reply, I don't know in detail. Joe Rogan I'm pretty sure, and Come Town, and I think a guy called Sam Hyde. They're apparently funny. I don't super get that kind of humor. Update 1. Hi everyone. This got way bigger than intended, so I figured a follow-up was owed. So, last time I posted was Monday. Monday as a whole was spent just sorting through what I felt, and what to do next. There was a lot of silence and a lot of anger, and a lot of Reddit advice, some of which I found very insightful, some of which was less so. Also some people think I made this up as part of a viral marketing sponsorship between Buffalo Wild Wings, Audi, and Zillow, which honestly would solve the money problems if true, but alas, is not the case. On Tuesday, after I got home from work, I sort of just walked up to him on the elliptical and explained as calmly as I could that I had questions, and if he actually wanted to marry me, he needed to be willing to answer them. I asked if he thought I was a gold digger, yes or no. He said yes. I told him that I wasn't willing to be in a relationship where I have to prove myself by sacrificing any sort of stability, and that led to a bit of a screaming match, and eventually, a confession. So it turns out we cannot afford anything we have right now. We are in serious credit card debt, the cars are both on the verge of being repossessed, and I did not know about any of this. He's been cutting corners on actual necessities, including psychiatric medication. That in combination with some comments from his family led him to some pretty dark places. My fiancé had a full breakdown and apologized for calling me a gold digger, which was nice to hear, but this whole thing had me pretty shaken up. I went to stay with a friend for a little bit. Yesterday, my fiancé and I did in fact go out to BWW and get the 2-for-1 boneless. We talked, a lot. I'm still writing fiancé for now, and I really hope we can work through all of this. We talked about how to sell the cars, we don't particularly have a choice at this point, and about my income, his income, and the sort of life we want to have. If we do stay together, we'll be changing how we live a lot. We need to get out of debt, we need to get on our feet. I know some people are gonna say I'm being dumb for not immediately dropping all contact and giving up on the relationship, but I can't do that. I can't look at the guy I love, who went off his meds to try and make a good life for me, and think he's not worth sticking around for, at least to try. I don't know what the future looks like at all anymore though, and the wedding is very postponed at the moment. Sorry this wasn't a more fun update. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, has he come clean to you about what got you guys so deep in the hole? For it to get to the brink it did, lifts more red flags in the air. He could be coping with an addiction problem, or something else that could destroy your life. You have got to figure this out ASAP. Please don't make any wedding plans, this is not the man you wanted to marry. Reply, it's not gambling or drugs, like a lot of people are saying. It's an addiction to nice things. He's got a lot of financial hang-ups, and comes from a family that replaced love with money, so he got it in his head that the only way to show love was to provide a very fancy sort of lifestyle, which was way over budget for us. It's going to be a hard pill to swallow, cutting back on everything, but it's what has to happen. Additional comments. I didn't write everything out in this post, but we did go over how the debt got this bad, and I'm currently aware of pretty much everything. There are some accounts I still need to look at this weekend, but for the most part it's all above board at this point. We're definitely looking at the relationship, and I'm going to be taking a much more active role in life planning if we do continue. The wedding is on pause for an unknown amount of time. I'm already looking into places I can afford, and will probably end up renting a trailer. And no, I'm not lying for him. I told him point blank that hiding this stuff is what got us into this mess, and he's not going to be able to keep it under wraps if he wants to stay with me. We need to be upfront about our financial situation, whether he's embarrassed or not. I think that with some hard work, we'll both end up in a better position. We need to get out of debt, and I'm taking the reins for a bit since he's never lived frugally before, but if all goes well, we'll get through this. I don't plan to leave if he sticks to what we're talking about and actually takes steps forward. I love this man, and I'll fight for what we have. If he won't fix things, won't listen, and continues to disrespect me, I'm gone, but I genuinely believe we will get through this. I know he can do better, and I believe he wants to. Now he has to prove it. Commenter 2, don't gloss over the comments from family. If you marry him, you're marrying them too. If they're generally toxic to his mental health, you need to talk about whether NC is necessary. If not, he has some serious repair work to do to fix the impression they have of you. Or has to take on the job of shielding you from their BS. Reply, his family don't like me for a number of reasons. They don't like that I don't have a college degree, they don't like that I grew up low income or went to public school, and they don't approve at all of the fact that I'm religious. His mother in particular has called me a hick, a redneck, and several other things I won't put down here. Up until this point, though, he's been pretty good about defending me. Good things about my fiancé. Recovered via Arctic shift, recovered. Pretty as fuck. This is the most physically attractive man I have ever met. Literal golden curls like a Da Vinci painting, crystal blue eyes, just so pretty it gives me butterflies whenever he looks at me sometimes. Best I've ever had in bed. Very good at just about anything, actually likes going down on me, and makes me see stars. I have never been in a relationship that was as sexually satisfying as this one, and there's no way I'm going back after this. His voice is very sexy. Especially when he speaks Russian. He also speaks French, Spanish, and apparently Latin. But Russian is my favorite. Got a vasectomy so I could go off birth control. He was the one to suggest it, because he saw how much I hated those stupid pills, and he was willing to get an actual surgery for me, full of little surprises and adventures. He's always doing things like getting me wildflowers, making my favorite breakfast before I wake up, or even planning little day adventures for us to go on together. Life is never mundane because he's always making it special. Actually does housework. Does not need to be asked to do housework. He actually does more of the cleaning than I do, and I cook most of the meals, because he thinks that sweeping and mopping floors is meditative. I do not know how I got this lucky on this one. Plays guitar really, really well. It's very attractive, can physically pick me up and carry me around and does this often. I am not a small woman, to be clear. This is legitimately impressive and makes me feel so nice. Reads. I can actually talk about books. With him. You have no idea how rare this is, especially to find a guy who'll read anything I say. Oh, I like this. You do not comprehend the feeling of mentioning offhandedly that you're reading Midnight Sun and having him come to you the next day after spending all night reading so that you could talk about it together until you live it. Has shown me that there is actual romance in life and that I deserve more than a flat boring relationship devoid of orgasms or dancing in the rain or music. He brought real passion and fun and aliveness into my life, and in a world where that's treated as an unrealistic fantasy for most women, he's shown me that I deserve something unrealistic. Update 2. We are out of debt. It feels so good to say that and have it be true, but as of 3 days ago, everything is finally paid off and we've made our way back onto solid ground. Almost 2 years ago, I made a post here about my 28F fiancé, 28M, wanting to split things 50-50, and my offer of compromising on lifestyle changes. As it turned out, he was off his meds and had managed to get himself into some serious debt, a little under 100K, trying to provide a life that we could not afford on a combined 155K a year. Things were rough. I almost left him a few times. But we have finally made it through to the other side. I handle the finances. 100% of the finances. I give him a budget for buying coffee. It wasn't fun, but in exchange he started doing more of the housework, so it evens out. We moved from our over-the-top apartment into a shared living situation, which, while not ideal, was leagues better than my initial plan of getting a trailer. We have roommates, but they're on another floor, so it's not too bad, and we have our own bathroom, which was my only real stipulation. We've lived like we're a 70K a year couple, doing actual 50-50 finances, and every extra penny he's made has gone directly to paying off the debt. We sold the cars, obviously. Traded them in for a nice used Ford Maverick and a Vespa. That helped a lot. There have been no more lavish vacations or over-the-top restaurants with $500 price tags. It was rough for my fiancé at first. He's always been very much a rich boy, and I think losing that as an identity was difficult for him. That being said, he's gotten so creative lately, it's been amazing to see. He will make me things if he can't buy me things, and we've started cooking together instead of having me do almost all of it. Our room is covered in the things he's made for me, and it's really lovely. We're still in love. We're still going strong. And we can finally start actually planning our wedding again. We're gonna get our own place first, but the wedding is next on the list after that. I'm so glad that we stuck with this, and being on the other side is the greatest feeling in the world. Thank you to everyone who offered advice. Love, I don't know how things would have ended up if I hadn't had the courage of my convictions, and I'm genuinely grateful to those who directed me to Dave Ramsey and Caleb Hammer. Y'all are awesome. TLDR. We made it out and are officially debt-free. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, huge congratulations to you for taking on that emotional as well as financial load. I'm so happy that he proved to be a solid partner to you in good times and bad. I love that you lasted through the hard times and reading that you are still in love with him, and vice versa. That's beautiful to hear. I hope you have a fun wedding, cause you already have the marriage part down. Reply, we're definitely going to have a fun wedding. We're gonna do a nice church ceremony, and a murder mystery reception. It's not going to be a huge thing, about 70 guests total, but it should be really fun. OOP on her relationship with his family. Reply, oh, we don't get along but we're civil because we all love my fiancé and we all want him to be happy. We will never do Sunday dinners as a family or anything, but they accept I'm good for him and have thanked me privately a few times for helping him out of debt. Stories number 33. Aita for stopping my family from seeing my daughter when I'm just a teen mom. I, 16F, have a daughter with my boyfriend, 17M. She's 4 months old. We're young and I know that's not ideal. We live together at his family's house right now. We go to school online and we both work part-time to have money. His family have been amazing though. And mine have kinda sorta tried. We don't have the best relationship right now and I put my foot down and said no more contact with my daughter until they can accept that I'm a mom who just wants to do right by her. This all started a couple of weeks ago. My sister, 30, asked if she could take my daughter out for a few hours and my boyfriend and I were okay with that. It was warm and sunny that day so we lathered her in sunscreen and put a hat on her and we gave my sister 2 backup hats and told her to make sure she wore them so she was protected from the sun. We also asked her to make sure she reapplied the sunscreen. An hour after they left, my sister posted photos of her and our daughter wasn't wearing a hat and they were on the beach where it was still very clearly sunny. I tried to call my sister but she didn't answer. She didn't answer any texts either. Or put the hat back on when prompted. When my sister brought our daughter back she was crying and clearly too warm. Plus she'd got a small rash starting on her face because instead of using the sunscreen we sent with her she sprayed her with something she had that wasn't meant for babies. My sister called me ungrateful. She said she gave us time without the baby and instead of thanking her we criticized her and all because she wanted our daughter to look cute instead of having those annoying hats on her head. I told her babies should be protected from the sun and warm weather and she didn't do that. She told me I was playing at being a concerned mom but I was just being a brat. My boyfriend's parents kicked my sister out. Then my parents called and asked that I apologize to my sister. They said she was having fun and we should understand that you can't always stay on top of stuff. My sister was in the background and even said she just couldn't be bothered. That she felt like it was overkill and the hat wasn't cute enough to wear. Then my parents said I was too young to know what's best and that I never should have gotten pregnant in the first place. I told them I was young and probably too young but I was doing everything to be a good mom. Then they accused me of taking an old fight out on them. Because my parents don't believe in hormonal birth control and they were mad that I had wanted to go on it and that I brought up how BC would have helped prevent me getting pregnant because clearly we weren't careful enough with the condoms. I didn't even bring that up. I was only talking about my sister and how I was doing what I could to be a good mom. My parents told me I should let them and my sister do what they think is best since they're adults and know more than me. I said I wanted to protect my daughter. They said I'm too young. That's when I decided they couldn't see her anymore until they learned to listen and protect my daughter instead of dismissing everything I do because I'm a teenager. Because that's putting my daughter at risk. Not me. My parents said denying them a relationship is wrong and I said they all needed to realize that my daughter deserves to be protected and not denied that because she wouldn't look cute enough for some people. They keep texting and calling and I ignore them but the argument is at my age I should not be making this decision and it shows how childish I am. Stories number 34. Aita if I brought evidence of my coworkers' nonsense to our meeting. Hello again petty potatoes. The last time I posted, I got a lot of great perspective from all of you. So I am again asking for your advice. If you want context of the situation, you can read my previous post about my coworker Autumn. TLDR, she doesn't listen and we've had meetings about this. I have found myself in yet again another meeting with Autumn. This is scheduled for Tuesday. I have told my boss that this will be my last meeting addressing this issue because at this point we are beating a dead horse like we are holding a grudge against it. I went on vacation for a week and just came back earlier this week. I saw an email that was sent by Autumn and T. T was covering for me while I was on vacation. I get back and T tells me that nothing got done that week and she tried to play catch up but it was impossible. Autumn wrote her email and didn't give me any really important information. Shocker, she sucks at communicating. She included T's email to her but then she wrote under each of the bullet points with her opinions. T was not included in this part of the email but I showed it to her when we worked. TLDR of the email was that either Autumn didn't understand a point made an excuse for things that weren't done and basically said, well I've already talked to the nurses about this but they won't listen to me. Anywho, Autumn started complaining about the fact that I told management that I wasn't happy with our schedule. Then she was told that we needed to schedule per the guidelines. Well, guess who didn't follow the freaking guidelines? Autumn. So, I've decided to bring in the guidelines, my schedule, and highlight parts of the emails where I have asked for things to be fixed or changed and the responses. I'm planning on building a case that's ironclad and may end up going full scorched earth. So would I be the asshole if I present evidence during our meeting? Update, AITA for bringing evidence of my coworkers' nonsense to our meeting. Hello everyone. Here is the update that many of you have been waiting for. The meeting happened this morning. I brought with me a copy of every email exchange that we had and our new schedule and the guidelines. Before this meeting, I spoke with my manager about what we were going to do if the meeting wasn't a success. She said that we would then meeting with higher ups. The meeting was insert dramatic musical sting of freaking disaster. Autumn arrived to our meeting already on the defense as usual. She said she had her own evidence that she was going to show in our meeting. Our bosses basically said in our meeting that this was a time for us to air out our grievances so that we could move on and work together in some sort of harmony. When asked who would speak first, neither of us did. When asked if Autumn would speak first, her response was, "Oh, you don't want me to speak first," expressionless face. Well, she did end up speaking first. Essentially, she hates me. Like loathes my existence and how I interact with everyone that we work with. It's not fair that people will do what I say or that I get asked for help more often. It's not fair that the charge nurse will trust me to input updates but not her. It's not fair that I get asked to do some of the ordering when she doesn't. It's just not fair the way she is being treated compared to how I'm being treated. My bosses would ask her to explain what things have been going on or for her opinion, but then she would just shut it down. She wasn't even listening during the meeting. Most of the meeting was spent trying to defend that no one is against her and that she needs to stop taking things so personally all the time. When I spoke, I simply explained that I wanted clear communication about things going on during the shifts. I explained that my emails have zero tone to them, so any tone you're reading them in, that's something you added. I just want to be able to do my job without constantly having to fight against my coworker. Oh, and that she didn't schedule herself based on the guidelines. She moved some of her days, but whatever. That is the small victory of that meeting. I had to make some concessions, such as allowing her to order certain things and to be open to trying her new ideas. She needed to stop being so defensive so people would find her approachable. The meeting was so tense, you could cut the air with a knife. It felt like things had simply gotten worse rather than better. That is the update for now. If anything else happens, I will post again. Stay petty. Stories number 35. Aita for not wanting to walk her down the aisle or lie in a speech. I, 41M, have 2 kids with my ex-wife, 42F, a son John, 22, and daughter Sally, 20. I'm remarried to my wife, 28. I'm very close with my kids. My son is engaged to Abby. She seems nice but has been a bit pushy trying to create relationships with me and my wife, though she's also awkward with her. Abby isn't close to her family. She told us many stories why, and while some of her complaints don't seem awful, it's not my place to judge and I didn't live it, so I can't know anyway. We've tried to be welcoming, but Abby has forced her way into some family traditions where she wouldn't have been invited, and some where no one outside of specific family would have. She has been calling Sally sis since they were only dating a few months, has an odd sister mother-in-law thing she does with my wife, and the one I'm not a fan of, wants me to be like father to her. Not because we've clicked or anything. We are very different people, not saying that in a bad way, just saying it's not based on how we get along or anything. My kids and I have a tradition when they come over that we have a private catch-up in my office study before they leave, which is now even more important to them because while they both get along well with my wife, they don't want to have personal conversations around her yet. Abby asked if we could talk, and after I explained the tradition, John later asked that I do it, saying she'd never had a caring conversation with her dad. We compromised that I didn't include her in the tradition but do join the 2 of them for coffee and let her talk. Then she started calling me dad. They weren't even engaged yet. John pulled me aside and begged me to give her that, laid this whole thing on me about me always being the dad she always wanted right in front of her, and she just wanted that, told me she cried watching me and Sally together. She still gives me random hugs. I'm a lucky dad. I didn't like it, but I do feel bad, so fine, I gave her that. She wants me to walk her down the aisle and the father-daughter dance. I don't want to walk her down, and I walk with a cane, so dancing is hard. At my own wedding I only danced twice. John is begging for me to do one, preferably the aisle. They came over Sunday, John and I were talking. I thought to address it, when Ab walked in without knocking, asking if he'd told me yet. I asked what. John said she wanted me to say something about having a second daughter now in my speech and how I loved her. I just looked at him. She asked if I'd do the walk and dance for Sally. I said of course. She yelled she's my daughter too, and I said it will never be the same. Sally is my actual daughter. I tried to explain I'd talk about her being a happy addition to the family and I love how happy she makes Jack, which I thought was a good compromise, but she started crying. John apologized and they left, but he called me when they were home nearly begging me to. Aita because I won't lie and say I love her or she's my daughter. Update 1. I had planned on writing this sooner, but life got in the way in a couple of really good ways, but people were helpful and asked for updates, and I have a surprise-free day, so here it goes. Mother's Day, my kids and their partners go to visit my ex-wife. So it turns out my ex-wife and Abby are a lot closer than I realized. She calls her mom, which is part of where this comes from. Also apparently my ex has been egging it on. On Mother's Day they were talking about the wedding, and I guess whenever Abby referred to me it was as dad. My son apparently told her let it go, which led to yelling. Abby about deserving to be my daughter, ex telling her that she's right, son telling her that I am trying and she should be realistic about things, Sally telling her I only had one daughter, which was apparently a response to Abby saying to her that as my daughters, they should be united. According to my son, Abby was crying. According to Sally, she was crying on yelling and kicked something before going to her room, and Sally told me she went off on her mom, but will not elaborate, so I don't know what was actually said. But knowing Sally, who boy. Around 2 a.m. I got a text from Sally's partner's phone saying, Abby really is great, she hasn't been perfect but you should give her a chance and you will learn to love her. I saw it when I woke up. I tried to text her back but was blocked, so I called Sally, but they were driving. They stopped by my place later that day because I am on the way and my daughter prefers my liquor and cooking, and they told me about the night before. At the end I asked to speak to her partner alone. I asked if I had done something to upset her. She was confused and I told her I was blocked. She said I wasn't but checked her phone and I was, and I said it was after her message and she asked what message. I showed her, it was not on her phone anymore. At that point we brought in Sally and caught her up, neither of them were happy. A couple of days later John and Abby dropped by unannounced, not something we really do in this family but okay fine. I had mad salmon, does not take long to cook. I cook 2 more, wife serves while I make drinks. The entire night was Abby trying to bring up the wedding, John trying to change the subject, Abby not allowing that. We talk logistics because I am helping them get some good deals through some professional contacts I have, when finally she just says, so I was talking to mom, she said that you can walk me down the aisle and she'll do the dance, or you can dance and she'll walk, it's your call but you need to choose soon. I reiterated that I could not dance, she tried arguing that I had danced a little at my wedding but I made it clear that is different, and did not feel comfortable walking her. She got upset and said, Mom loves me, why can't you? I felt bad but couldn't lie. I pointed out that she had John who loved her, my ex-wife, friends, she had people who love her. She said, but other than, ex-wife, those aren't my parents. I said, neither am I. She was very emotional, so my wife and I gave them a few minutes. My son and I were alone later, he looked exhausted. He said the problem was that after Mother's Day Abby had called Sally and kept saying they are both my daughters, that I did not get to be close with one but not both, and that it was them against me, but at that one Sally cried havoc and let slip the dogs of war. Things were said. Grievances were aired. John had to hang up before it got worse, but I guess Abby was shaken, but there was a new problem. Abby had decided in her head that I did not mean what I had been saying and was just doing it for Sally. He told me he would handle it. Ron Howard, he did not. So now I get text messages from Abby every couple of days acting like we have a secret relationship Sally doesn't know about. She even called herself my secret daughter and LOL'd. She invited my wife to lunch saying, 2 out of 3 of his girls, going out. She has even started using the pressure of showing up at events like a recent barbecue to play a certain image. She hugs me more and holds it, wants to do pictures with just me or my wife and I, but always a few with just me to post with captions I do not like. My wife is getting especially annoyed because of how she is with her. I guess Abby surprised her with Father's Day plans for me that had to be shut down. As it is, she still inserted herself into the day, but she has a soft spot for her, and when Abby gets emotional she caves. My wife is a sweetheart. I asked him if he is upset with me and he said no, he just wished it was different. He said we're good, but he's worried he and Sally aren't, which is when I took the advice of some people and suggested premarital counseling. He said he would talk about it. Abby is insisting Sally go to her fitting. That shop should pay-per-view that potential Royal Rumble because Sally is not holding her feelings back anymore. I told him Sally loves him and I'll talk to her, but for now it is stressful all around. Abby driving my wife crazy with her ideas for what my girls should be doing, driving me crazy with dad-daughter content, drove Sally to the edge, and oh yeah, last night sent me an email with 3 styles of father-daughter dances and song options, so I'm not feeling any more respected or heard than before. The 6 of us have barely been in the same room in order to let things calm down since Father's Day, which was great until it was a shit show. Sorry this is so long, with all the craziness this is still the abridged version. We are supposed to meet Friday, Sally's partner and I have a bet going about how bad it will go. So onward and upward. I hope you fathers had a less dramatic day than I did, and by any chance does anyone know exactly how bad of a crime I need to commit to enter witness protection? Just curious. Update 2. I have gotten requests for updates on my situation, and as I enjoy a refreshing mojito and my wife her nojito, life feels good and the perfect time to amuse the world with my pain and familial drama. Plus a cousin of mine who apparently reads these and knows my situation gave me the convincing argument of, dude, you can't keep people hanging, and how can I argue with that airtight argument? I apologize for how long this is, a lot has happened. My wife's pregnancy is going well, keeping her as stress-free and pampered as possible has been my focus. It is such a different experience this time, both because of how much more involved I can be and how much better a relationship I have with my wife than I had with my ex. My daughter Sally has been great, even her partner has been great, helping with the nursery or driving her around when I can't. My wife doesn't know because it is a surprise, but my son has been building a crib for the baby, modeled after the one I built for him and his sister, to show my wife his support. My son is a good man, and he is still in there, he just has a soft spot for Abby. Which I guess gets us to the part of the movie where Godzilla shows up and starts busting up buildings. So I called a family meeting with my kids to talk about the situation. Told John his sister was only doing wedding activities she wanted to and that the guilting requests needed to stop, that this was hurting his relationship with his sister. Sally was happy I said it so she did not have to yet again. I told him if he did not stop her from messaging me I would block her with a bluntly honest explanation why. We got a lot out, John seemed to understand, but then a few days later they insisted on coming to talk. Sally and I decided we would get everything out, so all of us ate at our place. Abby started in immediately about baby shower stuff and I told that is the kind of thing we wanted to talk about. I told her that I understood she has been trying to fill a hole that she has, that she thought she was getting a father, a second mother, she calls my ex-wife mom apparently, and a sister. I told her it was still possible but that she needed to start listening to us. I told her that for the sake of family we would give her a fresh start, if she agreed that moving forward she would respect our boundaries. My daughter did not love this idea but loves her brother and was willing to try. Abby tried to say that since we were starting over we could define what the relationship would be and just be family. We told her we were not ready for that, that it needs to happen organically. She got mad that I am closer with my daughter's partner, which is true but we just get along, and that she deserved it for trying so hard. My daughter said something about trying things we actually want. She ran to our bathroom, he ran after her. After a while I checked on him, I could hear her repeating, "This is not what I wanted." My wife, daughter, and her partner went out to the patio to give them privacy and salvage the night. After a bit I got a text saying they had just left. I checked in with him the next day and he said they talked more at home and she understood. For a couple of weeks things were good. The text stopped except the occasional wedding question, since it was getting closer. She stopped pushing herself on my wife and Sally, and we thought was involving us in less in wedding planning out of respect, since as it was they only got the venue at the rate they did because of my professional connections and they know I was willing to help but not interested in helping plan, even if I am good at event planning. But then I got a call from the venue telling me the card I used had been declined. Now this is a specific card I use for big purchases because of the miles, so I knew it had a high limit. That was how I learned that they had changed dates by 2 months despite being informed I would still be out much of the money because it was too close to the date. I was furious. I mean, I have been lucky in life financially but I am not blow-off deposits like nothing wealthy. Called my son, said he needed to get his ass to the house, just him. They both came. When they arrived I opened the door, she actually started with, "Dad." I think I just replied, "You have got to be effing kidding me," and walked toward the table. Abby had the nerve to ask where dinner was. My response was not polite as I made it clear that was not why they were here. I hoped my son would not lie to me so I asked what was going on with the venue. She started going into wedding details but my son interrupted to tell me they postponed because my ex-wife was unavailable because of a surgery and he had not told me because he was putting money together to pay the lost money himself, and he had just reached out to guests to let them know. And that is when Abby's mouth opened, "We have extra time to work on our dance." Now during this time my wife came home, and I was walking her toward the bedroom when Abby said that. "My pregnant wife with me," I said, calmly, "I have different feelings about that and will elaborate further shortly," or something like that. Then I laid my wife down and got her water, turned on her symphonic covers of popular songs and walked back to the table and said something like, "You are out of your FN mind, have you even been listening?" I made it clear I was done with this nonsense, we all were, and kind of lost it asking she did not hear us last time because her head was up her ass. She was stunned silent, "What a beautiful sound," and looked at me while I, admittedly with little filter, explained what Sally and I thought of our time with her and her attempts to force us to love her without even getting to know us. She started crying and stood up and shouted, "Then what was this even for?" John asked what she meant, if she meant them, and he started to freak out. She was frantic and said she meant delaying the wedding. Because, and I'm pouring another drink to write this, it was a ploy. My ex-wife and her decided if I had more time I would come around. Apparently my ex told her not to worry about the money because, I am loaded. She has always been bitter I make so much more than I did when we were married, as if that is out of spite rather than my career arc. I think she did that on purpose, frankly, but she not only told me that lie, she and my ex told John as well. He was distraught. Repeating, "You lied to me," as she tried to spin it, but he was letting it out about how much he has defended her and covered for her and she lied to him too. She was defensive and blamed my ex for telling her things and me for being stubborn. She yelled, "Why can't I just FN call him dad?" And, finally, after so long, I heard John respond, "Because he is not your FN dad." She started crying and something about his being the one that told she could call me that, and he said he told her she might be able to eventually, but he had told her again and again to slow down. She started sobbing and went to sit on her chair but missed and fell on the floor. Appreciating physical humor to break the tension, I admittedly chuckled and hid my mouth behind my drink. This all led to a lot of sobbing. I said I needed to check on my wife, and as I walked out she was repeating, "I just want him to be my dad too." I came out and he was walking her to the door and apologized. I said not to, they left. He came over a few days later and said they had a long talk at home. He even asked her if she would have dated him if there was never a chance of being in the family. He believed her when she said yes, but she admitted I was a big draw as well. I was the kind of dad she always wanted. My relationship with Sally is what she always wanted, and the way she said it gave John doubts that she loves him for him. I talked about marriage counseling, how his mother and I tried it and, while it did not save us, it provided clarity and an impartial voice. I pointed out they both like coming to me, but I cannot be impartial, and if they are trying then they need to do it for real. Abby texted asking if I was the one who suggested therapy. I responded with, does it matter if John wants to? She asked why it is so bad. She wants to know what I think, and I just said John is the man whose opinion should matter most to her. They fought due to the text. She agreed to the counseling and the wedding has been postponed. I may have done a dance. So they are in counseling. He said she struggles, but I obviously do not know details. She is pressing for me and Sally to go to a session with her. Sally told her she did not want to hear Sally unfiltered, and I am not interested. Abby has been leaving Sally alone. She stopped texting me except for the occasional general question which includes some attempt to go deeper. My wife still occasionally spends time with her because she is very into her pregnancy, more so than I like, but it is my wife's call. So that is where we are. Sorry it was so long, but alcohol makes for a poor editor. Update 3. I was told I should do updates here. People have been asking me to, and to get into what went down on Father's Day and at their mother's house. I have been extremely busy these last few months, but am enjoying my temporary unemployment and thought of this account because of recent Thanksgiving drama. I will do an update and then will share what happened earlier. Oh, and to whomever made the joke that Abby finally got me to dance, that made me laugh. I shared that with the family. My time has been largely caring for my wife. I tend to dote, I know. We are having a boy. We are really excited, though neither of us really had gender preference. I have raised both and both experiences were wonderful. Now we are discussing names, who we are going to honor. I thought everything had been quiet, but recently found my wife crying and found out I was wrong. Given how busy I have been with work, and my wife knowing I would be free again once we got into this month, my wife has kept this to herself. Apparently Abby has been pushing for one Thanksgiving this year. Things have been quiet with Abby. My son said the wedding blowing up woke her up, and that therapy had been helping. But then this. My understanding is that while John has been talking less with his mother because of all that happened, Abby did the opposite. From my wife's telling, Abby dropped by one day with my ex-wife. My wife intensely dislikes my ex-wife because of lies she spread about my first marriage ending due to infidelity with her, despite there being no infidelity and the linear nature of time making it impossible for us to have slept together back then. Before anyone asks, my ex-wife does not actually think there was infidelity. I would get into that, but I am sure I would sound biased. Anyway, so my wife looked at our camera app, saw who it was and called my daughter. Apparently the two of them were keeping things from me because I was working 18-hour days and they did not want me dealing with anything else. I wish they had not done that, but I appreciate the thought. I am really lucky to have such caring people around me. My daughter called her mom and said something that made them leave in a hurry. She will not tell me what, but she smiles when I ask. I called John, but he was dealing with some hard work news, so I just was there for him and left the other alone. The next day Abby came back, alone this time. My wife saw it was her and asked her what she wanted through the door. Abby said to apologize. My wife let her in. She is too nice, and after a nice talk Abby asked about the whole family getting together for Thanksgiving. My wife said of course. She assumed as much. A couple of days later in our group chat we were discussing details, who brings what, and Abby asks what else is needed. I say John already committed, and she asked what about my ex-wife, what should she bring? In the time I have known Abby she has never made an intentional joke that funny, so I asked what she was talking about and she mentioned the whole family comment, and my daughter and I both asked what made her think we counted her as family. She actually replied, she is my family. I don't have a dad who wants me, just a mom, and my mom deserves to be with family on Thanksgiving. Sally replied, well, we'll miss you and John then. Abby asks how she can say that. Sally asks how she can be so stupid. John says not to call her stupid and I say that is fair, but there is no real way she thought my wife thought she meant my ex-wife. At this point my wife had filled me in. And then, this is so stupid, she uses my son's phone to add my ex-frigging wife to the group chat. She then thanks us for the invitation and asks what she can bring. As I was typing my daughter beats me to it and asks what she thinks she is doing. She knows she is not welcome, but says it less politely. My wife types, you could not have thought she was included when I said family. Abby responded that she was not coming as my family but as hers. Sally let her mom have it. She already is not talking to her much and said if my ex-wife is there then she is not. I mentioned there was never a chance X was going to come and said I understand Abby and John wanting to go to their mom's house so she is not alone. John typed, plans not definite, will let you know. He has since told me that he is not going to go to his mom's place but wanted to tell Abby alone first. All I can think about is the comment about not having a dad who wants her, because it means she is still thinking about me as a dad, I believe. Just a negligent one. I mentioned that to my son and he said he noticed it too and had brought it up at therapy, because family is such a frequent topic, though I obviously do not know details. Wow, I thought this would be brief but that was a lot. I will get into the crazy stories later if there are people seeing this who want me to. I do not know how posting from here works in terms of anyone seeing it, but this has been good to get out. Mini update, I may have my boy back. I do not have time to elaborate right now but I am so excited I had to share this. Thanksgiving went so badly that my son called off the engagement itself and is now going to stay at our place while he figures out his next step. He came over Sunday night exhausted and asked if he could use the guest room and we talked for a couple of hours. I understand a bit more why he felt trapped now but he realizes if she does not see her issues then he cannot help her with them. I am taking him and his sister for a fun day on Saturday to just have some fun. He looks so tired and just needs some fun. Hopefully, while yes things are messy, he is moving in a better direction for himself. People here have been great and genuinely seem to be rooting for him which I appreciate, so I just thought I would share the good news. Happy holidays, especially mine as he told her she was not invited. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, I'm so glad you have your son back. But she's so delusional it may get worse before it gets better. Reply, I agree she will not be easy to disentangle from, I doubt she will let it be easy. We already have cameras outside in multiple spots, and Abby does not have a key. I feel like we got my son back and Abby got my ex-wife, I will take that deal in a heartbeat. Commenter 2, I mean, I'm a long-time mental health professional, so I've seen some shit, thus I'm immediately picturing, upon your son officially ending it for good, her having a full-on psychotic break and regressing into a child, throwing a full-blown, kicking and screaming on the ground, shamelessly snotty and drooling no fucks given ugly crying, DEFCON toddler-level tantrum on the spot, screaming desperately for her daddy, and raging at your son, not because he doesn't love her, or because he rejected her romantically, or any reason we would find realistic in our plane of what we consider logic, but rather accusing your son of taking her daddy away and trying to keep her and you from being the family you were always meant to be. Honestly, this type of crazy is so familiar to me, I could practically write the speech myself upside down face. But this is not meant to be a prediction. This is just a worst case scenario type possibility, which is obviously what popped into my head, because, A. Far too many years of personal experience in a professional capacity with worst-case scenarios like this and even more crazy, and 2, Reddit lol. Reply, he told me all about their conversation and how it confirmed to him he was making the right choice. It sounds like you are right about shouting and throwing things and said he was taking away her chance to have a family. There was a lot more, some I know, a lot I do not, but well done with your highly educated guess. I cannot imagine the stories that you must have. OOP on how Thanksgiving turned out so badly. Reply, it was pretty bad. Abby showed up with my ex-wife despite the fact there was never a chance that woman would be allowed in my house. It got ugly from there and my son really let them both have it. He is done with his mom, both of my kids are, which after years of seething about lies she told about me but needing to hold it in around them, it is all out there now. Commenter 3, OMG I have been waiting for your update, I hope your family and wife are all well. I'm sorry to hear about your son and I hope he heals, but he has done the right thing, he will find an amazing woman. I know it's probably not going to happen but I hope the drama settles and I shall await your update with the deaths. Reply, that is why I came to post. Some people have been really great on here and seem to be genuinely concerned, which I did not expect but felt meant I should catch people up. He is seeming like his old self, best gift for the holidays I could have asked for but I know this will be a process for him. We will be here for him. Commenter 4, he's lucky to have such a great dad, you have been so smooth and chill through all of this. Sounds like he has the support he needs to get through this, I hope life gets better for him and you guys too. Reply, thank you, there were many times I wanted to be more assertive, but I worried that since he loves her and they were living together, which meant she could be in his ear constantly, that if I pushed it would either push him away or cause him to push back. It has been bad but while I know he has not given up on the relationship completely, he now knows she needs to show him she is working on herself or he is done. He moved a lot of clothes here, and when she messaged last week he asked her if she had been following through on something, and when she said no he was furious. He told me that he does not trust her and I asked him if there can even be the foundation for a relationship without total trust and he said no. I think he is getting there. Update on life, sorry it is long. Life has been busy but great, but I have a lot of requests for an update, and people here have been really great so I figured that I should. To start, my wife and I have an adorable sleeping potato. He has made us both so happy. My wife, sleepy as she may be, is the happiest I have ever seen her. I had paternity leave and then various family took over helping my wife. My kids have been great about helping. My daughter has been having fun with her brother for the first time in a while. I am not going to provide details because my wife would not appreciate that, but I will just say that my wife had a scare late in her pregnancy which led to my kids really being there for her, and they pretty much have been since. They even got in my Mother's Day celebration for her. My wife loves it, she is really feeling the love. My kids are doing great. Great news is that my daughter and her partner are engaged. They have a very specific idea of what they want to do, and I was asked to walk both of them down the aisle. That was too much for me. I am not a big crier, but I admit I contributed to the happy tears we had while all hugging. My daughter asked my son to be her best man. They are both having a best man and maid of honor, which makes me deeply happy, because I do not think he would have been her choice a year ago. They are definitely getting their relationship back to normal. My son had work issues because of federal cuts and had to change jobs, but he is really happy where he is now. I used money I had saved for his wedding and bought him a getaway trip. With the job stress following the personal stress he dealt with, my kid needed time away. No Abby, no job stress, no family. I think we are pretty great, but we spend a lot of time together and I figured he might need a week away from us too. It was not easy separating from Abby. She and his mother made it difficult for him. My ex-wife tried seeing him through Abby, and my son was having none of it, especially after a public tantrum at his old job. It was a public-facing position with his office info online, that really embarrassed him. She would not dare do that to Sally. Neither of my kids have anything to do with her. Abby made a couple of dramatic attempts to get my son back, but my son was clear with her. She has been out of his life and he is visibly relaxed. He is living in a new place, close to his new job. He even mentioned putting himself out there a little while ago. A couple of months ago a young woman joined our shop. She is very personable, funny and attractive. Our work includes receptions and work socializing, so I have gotten to know her a little. She seems fun. She has mentioned dating and being single a couple of times when we have talked, so I asked my son if he would be okay to give her his number if she was interested, and he was. They have gone out a couple of times. It does not sound like a great fit, but when he was talking about how attractive she was I could see he was enjoying meeting new women again, which frankly all I really hoped for. It got him excited to go out again and got him some confidence back, so whatever happens it was successful as far as I am concerned. So, things are really good. And there is going to be a wedding. I have been helping plan it, their ideas of course. It feels like we have gotten through something together. Now I am over here shipping nachos, just overflowing with joy. Our little one, eventually an upcoming wedding, and my son smiling consistently again. I really appreciate all of you wonderful people and all of your good advice and well-wishing. Life is so much easier now. Babies require time but they are drama-free. Additional information. For Thanksgiving it was my wife and I, Sally and her partner, a couple of friends of my kids who do not have much family and were basically adopted when they were all teens, and John. He just wanted quiet and thought Abby and his mother were eating with her group. About an hour into it the doorbell started ringing emphatically. I looked through the peephole. My ex-wife and Abby were standing there. Abby had a half pan of macaroni and cheese and my ex-wife, for some reason, had a bag from fast food, but was holding it like it was her contribution. I called for my son and told him to deal with them. He opened the door and his mom said hello so pleasantly and tried to walk past him but he stopped her. Abby said the entire family needed to be together and my son just told her to stop it, and asked for a minute with them, so I went inside and told everyone, rightly worried about how Sally would react. She got up and marched toward the door, opened it and just unloaded. Her partner was right behind her, but was pulling up video on her phone. It was something like, "What the hell is wrong with you crazy manipulative?" And just, years worth of held and anger was projectile vomited over my ex-wife and Abby, and then ex-wife again. My ex-wife got so mad she yelled, "Shut up," grabbed the Pyrex that the mac and cheese was in and threw it down, I assume it expecting it to shatter. It just thud and was intact though cracked it looked like. Everyone was silent and she just picked it up. I admit I laughed at that so I stepped in. My laughing started to set my ex-wife off but my son jumped in, not yelling, but firm. He told her did not know if he wanted anything to do with her anymore but if she did not back off the answer was no for sure. He looked at Abby and asked her why she keeps doing this, how it has not gotten through her head. With that he said, "What is wrong with you, I really am asking." He pointed out what he said to her versus what she kept doing. She started sobbing, turned and slapped my ex-wife and ran to their car and drove away, stranding my ex-wife who had the fucking nerve to chuckle, say that was an overreaction, and ask my son for a ride home. My kids told her she could not even use their Lyft apps. She kept arguing about coming inside. I pointed out it was a safe neighborhood with a park nearby she could wait at. I know it was petty, but I said, hold on, I do want to help, so I went to the kitchen, got a spoon and went back, and stuck in the macaroni and cheese and told her that way she could eat while she ate. My kids laughed, so I sent them in so it would not escalate even more, and I stepped outside and shut the door behind me, and made it very clear that she was not to come back, and said some other select words. She was clearly about to yell, so I pointed out it was a quiet neighborhood and that would likely get the police called. She stomped away and I have not seen her since. OOP shares his thanks to the Redditors. Reply, people like yourself who were very helpful are why I decided to catch everyone up on everything. I genuinely appreciate the kindness throughout this insanity. We are getting far enough from it that I am starting to think of it like a stress test on the family, and through it all we were there for each other and got through together. It may not have been worth all of the stress, but like Monty Python said, always look on the bright side of life. Stories number 36. I might die in 2 days and I have so many things left unsaid. I was diagnosed with a rare autoimmune disease 3 months ago. It's aggressive, and my doctors told me I likely won't make it past this Friday. That's 2 days from now. I'm 18. I thought I had decades left. I haven't said half the things I need to. I haven't told my sister how proud I am of her, or apologized to my dad, or thanked my best friend for staying up all night when I was too sick to move. I still haven't told my partner how much I truly love them, not the surface stuff, but the deep, aching kind you only realize when time's running out. I don't fear death itself, I fear dying with things unsaid, with love left unspoken, with a life half-lived. So please, if you're reading this, say the thing. Send the message. Hug them longer. We always think there's more time. I just needed to say this before I go. Stories number 37. Aita for refusing to let my mom meet my newborn after what she said at my wedding. I, 29F, gave birth to my first child 2 weeks ago. It's been a whirlwind, exhausting but amazing. My husband, 31M, and I are trying to set boundaries early, especially with our families, because both sides can be intense. Here's the issue, my mom, 56F, hasn't met the baby yet, and I've told her she won't until further notice. She's livid, and now the entire extended family is calling me heartless. At our wedding last year, she made a toast during the reception. She said she was proud of me but then turned to my husband and said, take good care of her, she's not always easy to love. People laughed nervously. I was mortified. When I confronted her later, she brushed it off as a joke and told me I was being too sensitive, as always. That comment stuck with me, especially because growing up, she often belittled me, calling me too emotional, too dramatic, or a burden. Therapy helped me unpack a lot of it, but hearing those words again on my wedding day brought it all back. Now that I've had my baby, I've felt this overwhelming urge to protect her, not just physically, but emotionally. I don't want someone around her who doesn't even respect me as a person, let alone as a mother. My mom has apologized technically, but it felt more like, I'm sorry you were offended, than genuine remorse. She says I'm punishing her and being immature. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm letting old wounds cloud the present. But part of me feels like if I don't draw this line now, I never will. So, Aita for not letting my mom meet her grandchild because of something she said months ago. Stories number 38. I do not want the executor to change the will. I am the beneficiary to a will that belongs to a deceased uncle. The executor, brother of the deceased, wants the will changed and they gave me a document on changes that they would like made. Upon reading this document, it became clear that they did not care about what my uncle wanted. It just seems like they are rewriting the will to suit their own agendas. There is no way I am signing off on any changes to the will. Apparently, the executor has been saying that unless I sign off on the changes, they will not release any of the money locked up in the will. The executor made sure this ultimatum reached me indirectly. He has been pretty careful not to say that he is not going to follow the will in our written communications. What can I do if the executor refuses to carry out the will? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. An executor can't change the will. Don't agree to anything and seek legal advice. Reply. Thank you. Commenter 2. It might take 12 months, but if he is slow or doesn't distribute the estate, it just gives you more evidence he is not acting in the best interest of his position. VCAT will side with you. VCAT won't like the fact he's trying to change the will regardless if you have evidence he's trying to force you to agree or not. He would also be liable to pay you interest. It seems like he thinks as executor he gets to make the rules, but it actually makes him liable to a set of laws he doesn't understand. Reply. It has already been 18 months. He was supposed to sell the contents of the house and divide the profits. Instead he simply told the beneficiaries to just take what they want. This can't be legal. Commenter 3. You can seek to have them removed as the executor. Reply, I think it will probably come to that. Commenter 4. From what you've written below, at 18 mths later. It's come to that. Reply, yeah, I guess I have no other option. Update, I went to see a solicitor. His take is this: the executor cannot change the will. I should inform the lawyers handling the will that I will not sign off on any changes. Other than point 2, I just need to sit tight for now. While this saga has dragged for coming up to 2 years, the executor only sold the last of my uncle's assets only 6 months ago. The executor gets a full year to distribute the will. In 6 months' time I can remove this executor. It will cost $50,000 to prepare the case and another $80,000 if it goes to court. Does this sound right? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. An executor is legally bound to quickly and efficiently disperse assets as dictated by the will. If the executor is a beneficiary and wishes to contest the contents of the will, they need to do so in the courts just as any outsider would have to if they wanted to argue they were left out and deserve a slice. Without a court order they cannot change the will or fail to carry out its instructions. Reply, everyone says this, but they are pretty unclear on what happens when an executor does defy the will. In this case the executor has started releasing money to the other beneficiaries without me signing off on it. Aita forgoing no contact with most of my family. I, 30M, have gone no contact with my siblings and uncles. The dispute started when my uncle died. He left me a lot of money. My cousins got a share of the will, but only some land that they are already living on overseas. Unfortunately, the executor of the will did not like this. He argued that cousins should have an equal share. The executor wrote out their own version of the will and my siblings have had various reactions to it. Sibling 1, anything my uncle suggests is right. Anyone challenging the executor is effectively tearing the family apart. Sibling 2, our cousins need a greater share. I am happy to give 75% of my share away to the cousins. Sibling 3, this is awful, but I cannot challenge the executor as he is family. Myself, the executor cannot do this. My uncle made it clear what he wanted in the will. The deceased instructions are more important than family politics. We can compensate the cousins after the will is carried out. I have made it clear that I will not sign off on the executor's changes. His response has been to move forward with it regardless, and it looks like I will need to take him to court. While I have been weighing up my options, my siblings have been pretty hostile to me. I went non-contact with sibling 3 for a while after he left me voice message. He doesn't just shout at people when he's angry, he really tries to destroy them. His longtime girlfriend mysteriously refuses to marry him, but when I heard this message I finally understood. She always wants to have the option of leaving this psycho. Anyway, my siblings have been pretty toxic. I suspect the executor has told them that they won't receive their share of the will until I sign off on the changes. I have gone no contact with all of them. I am not going home for Christmas this year. My wife noticed that I am the only happy person at my family events, so she is supportive of me going non-contact. Update 2. A lot has happened since my last update, so I will try to pick out the key points. The executor was not happy that I contacted the lawyers handling the estate, see point 2, previous update. He got angry and tried to find out what I had told the lawyers. The lawyers confirmed to me that they received my email, point 2, previous update, and mentioned that they were taking appropriate action. The executor ceased communicating personal attacks toward me and conducted himself in a more conciliatory manner. He said that making no changes to the will was also an option, whereas previously he had maintained that option was off the table. The executor attempted to get my family to bully me into accepting his changes. This consisted of angry messages with a lot of exclamation marks. I simply broke off contact with anyone trying this on. About a month after this the executor conceded defeat. He said that the will was being passed without changes. After an excruciating wait of about a month, the lawyers handling the estate contacted me asking for my bank details. 8 full weeks go by. The estate lawyers ignored my emails and they avoided my phone calls. Today I sent an email to the estate lawyers asking whether anything was wrong with the will situation. I pointed out that it had been 8 weeks. To my surprise, within 30 minutes they sent me a waiver to sign agreeing not to sue them or the executor in exchange for my share of the will. The sum was transferred to my bank account by the end of the day. I can't imagine what caused such a sudden change after 8 weeks. I'm just relieved that this saga has come to a close and that there was no need for a court case. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. The estate lawyers probably spent 8 weeks trying to talk sense into your uncle, their client. Glad it all worked out in the end. Your uncle sounds like every solicitor's nightmare client. Commenter 2. This. They probably had a full conversation with him, and he spilled the beans on his activities. I imagine he was told to shut up and hope you didn't start investigating legal actions against him and possibly the lawyers. It doesn't sound like you're going to the family Christmas catch-up anyway, but I imagine you've laid there at night thinking up comments like, how'd that work out for you? Reply, yeah, something must have went down. Commenter 3. The waiver and 8 weeks no contact makes me think that something dodgy was happening with estate account funds, that they didn't have the funds ready to disperse to your account, or maybe dispersed them to the incorrect account, and it took 8 weeks for them to reclaim those funds and then distribute them to you. Hence the waiver. At least ultimately it sounds like you got what was owed to you. So a happy outcome without you being required to sue them, which is costly for you and also drains the estate of its funds, so it is like you have to pay double legal fees. Reply, thank you. That sounds plausible. I thought it was weird that the lawyers wanted to protect themselves from being sued. Commenter 4. Without seeing the actual wording of the waiver, there is usually some sort of indemnity document that estate lawyers like to have signed by the beneficiaries. It's there to sort of prevent any future claims. In my case the beneficiaries refused to sign, but we had dealt with the estate to the letter of the law, so the likelihood of anyone bothering to go to a lawyer to claim otherwise was very slim. In your case, the executor has been a bit dodgy, so the lawyers would really want to cover their arses. I suspect they've struggled to get the executor to listen to them. People have no idea about the law, and if they don't like the advice it can take a lot of effort to convince them to do things properly. Glad it worked out and didn't end up in court.